Hello, everybody, and welcome to Sancho Investigates. This is El Sancho. This is a investigative series panel tonight. We have three wonderful individuals who are here to provide not only their insight, what they have, the information they have, what they may or may not have already publicly divulged. Everything tonight will be out there. Every fact that there is out there for paperwork will be out there, and we will let you decide at the end of the stream whether Beware of Mouse is a victim or a monster. First question I kind of have to start off with Teresa is, who is Beware of Mouse for those watching right now who have no idea who the hell we're talking about?
Well, I guess what I know about Beware Mouse, I've been watching him kind of off and on. I used to watch him every single morning, but I've been watching him for about the last 2 years or so. And I thought he was just some random guy, that sort of lived in this. I don't know. It wasn't even an apartment. It was just some sort of building. He's moved since then. Actually, it was a trailer at first. And I've watched him, cry about not having heat and not having food and not having this and not having that over the years, and heard his woes and this and that. And so, I've looked into a lot of things, I guess a lot of claims that he's made. And he's a pretty interesting individual. I think we're probably going to get into that a little bit deeper tonight, but, I think probably that's what kind of drew me into watching, him. It's somebody that other people paid attention to. And, and I guess he kind of grew on me watching him every morning.
Grew on you in a way where you were a fan of his work?
Well, no, I'm pretty entertained at, watching, I guess, behaviors and the kind of behaviors that then he displays a whole variety of different behaviors and emotions. And he's got a gamut of stories. And, just, I guess, over the years, it's just been sort of entertaining for, I guess, me to watch the way his stories have evolved and twisted and, been created out of thin air at sometimes. And, just sort of watch what he does and what he thinks of himself.
Who is Beware of Mouse, Liberty Bird?
In my opinion, Beware of Mouse is ultimately a danger to those that are around him, a danger to potentially, children all over the state, in my opinion. I don't personally think that there is much that Mouse has shown us other than a constant switch of a story, a constant deflection of an argument. And we see a lot of other interesting, like I think Teresa hit on behaviors for Mouse, which brings him into being an awesome specimen and such to evaluate and kind of look further into. And then the interesting thing is, the further you look into it, the more you realize that Mouse has created such a, oh man, what's the best way to put this? He has created such an illusion around what has transpired with his criminal past that it makes it very difficult to actually seek truthful answers from A, records, or B, him. And the interesting part is that the records that you do find are more than just disturbing. They're sick.
Flathead, pleasure to meet you. My new friend Flathead. This question might be a little difficult for you because of the past the two of you have, but are you kind of, for those who don't know who this person is, to kind of welcome us into this show, who is Beware of Mouse?
Beware Mouse is an unapologetic, narcissistic, victim blamer, abuses people who he thinks that are weaker than him. Those are my observations over the course of 2 years, and especially recently. Every situation, it's Merv's fault, it's Black Label's fault, it's Hemming's fault, it's Flathead's fault, it's my son's fault, it's the victim's fault. his embellishments. You can never tell who he is, what's real, what's not real. You know, you can't listen to anything he says and take anything he says seriously because he lies very frequently. Um, that's who Mouse is.
So we have a lot of documentation tonight, and I want to ask the public to be very patient with us on the amount of documentation we have. The first thing that I really want to, ask the panel is was there a point of time that you all liked this individual? And if so, what did you like about him? Start with T.
There was a time when, and I have a lot of compassion for, just about every human being on the planet. I mean, he is a human being, and I did have a lot of compassion for him, and his $10 roast for Christmas and the heat being out. And I did feel sorry for him. I never felt sorry enough for him to send him any money. But, I did feel sorry enough for him to kind of listen to his story and evaluate, the details, and to sort of at least give him the benefit of the doubt of sort of looking into it.
A bird?
Oh man, I've never liked Mouse. I was luckily in a position where I was warned by those that care about me to avoid Mouse at all costs. And then my knowledge came in that he was ostracized by the whole Denver community as far as the First Amendment auditing squads go. So I don't know. Like for me, it was really easy. I seen Mouse as a danger almost immediately.
Flyhead?
What was the question? I'm sorry, I was dealing with my kid.
Pretty much the question was, at one point, were you a friend of his, and what did you like about him?
Yeah, I was a friend of his, like Teresa. I grew up, abused as a child. So, and this is before I knew anything about Mouse, to any degree. And I was in a position to help out financially, and I did. And a lot of his quote unquote studio was off my back, off the back of Chris Powers, is well known in this community. He donated over $7,000 to him in 1 year at one time. So I think in 2019, we came to some kind of estimate of around $12,000 that Mouse got in donations. So yeah, people like to some degree until these truths started coming out and he started lying about them.
So during this stream, we're going to have what's called a bomb. It's called the truth bomb. And we are 9 minutes in, and 9 minutes in means we're going to have the first truth bomb. Flathead, I'm going to show something on this screen right now, and I want to get your opinion on this. Angela Warfield, Rex Frederickson, opened June 27th, 1986. Case number 1986 PA 0728. This is a paternity certificate, correct?
Yes, sir.
What are we looking at, and why is this so important when it pertains to Beware of Mouse's first wife, Angela Warfield?
Well, she was, according to him, he met her when she was 8 years old, and befriended her. And by the time she was late 14, early 15, she got pregnant with his child. Well, when you join the military and you go overseas, according to him, they take a paternity test because the military just doesn't take a girl and just somebody. I guess you have to prove that the kid is yours. According to him, that's why this paternity test was taken. She was 15 years old.
Now, I am no expert, Teresa, but it takes 9 months to have a baby, correct?
At least, yeah. Well, unless the baby's early, but yeah, usually about 9 months.
And let me also stress that everything we're releasing is public information. Public information that anybody listening, the 72 people that are listening, can do, that everybody here done on this panel can do. Anybody can do this. So we're not doxing. We're not doing anything that's already public information. Doxing is sharing personal information and making it private. This is something that everybody listening can have access to. So showing this, what comes, how old was she during this incident? How old was she when they got married, Flathead?
15.
So she was 15 years old when she married Beware of Mouse.
According to him, yes.
According to Beware of Mouse, they were 15 when they got married. And this is a paternity certificate dated 1986, correct?
Yes, sir.
Are you able? Okay.
Real quick, what you can see in looking at this is that this isn't something that the military did or what have you. This is her filing a lawsuit to have him tested for paternity. This isn't something, that this isn't a requirement for the military. No, this looks like someone is trying to get some child support or something.
Flathead?
Yeah, I'm seeing in the comments from Bob, and Bob would know, Bob Homestead.
16.
Yeah, he's a long-time listener. I know him. If he says 16, I would say he probably knows as well as I do.
So 16 years old. One quick thing, he was 23, 24 during the paternity test. She was 15. So right now, Jim Robes and Bob Homestead are going back and forth in 1986. So let's do the math. If 1986 this happened, how old would the person be today if they were born in 1986?
$34, $35. That's his oldest son. Mike is 35. She's 50 and he's 35, which would make her 15 when she gave birth.
So the 16 years old thing is so the official age of the wife is 50 years old.
Yeah, she's currently 50. Mike is 35 and Sean is 30.
Which would make her 15 at the time of birth, not 16.
16 at the time of marriage, 15 at birth is what the audience is going back and forth.
But the documents show that it would be 15.
Well, if she's 50 now in 1986, would she not have been 15?
And that's the point, right? So if that's the case, she gave birth at 15. How old was she when she actually got pregnant? I would say, early 15, possibly maybe even 14?
Late 14.
He was grooming her for 6 years.
That's deep.
So one of the major things you want to touch upon is the first marriage. Let's talk about the incident, T. If you can pull up the police report, if you have that, the confession, if you have that, pretty much if you want to, is it a good idea to start from there? T?
I said go for it.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I was getting that. I was pulling
Can
that
I just answer
page
the audience real quick? The audience, this is just showing you that before he was ever caught, this is what he was doing before he was ever caught. So just understand, this is now, we're talking about multiple situations because I see some confusion in the chat.
The marriage was in July of 1987. The paternity case was in 1986.
I'm sorry, I have page 2 pulled up. Excuse me, I guess I named the files incorrectly. Let me change that.
All right, I'll bring you back. Oop, I almost just kicked Liberty Bird out by accident. Whoops. Sorry, I had that thing. Is it fair to say, flat, in your opinion, that you think this individual has a pattern of behavior for young children?
Well, yeah, his father disowned him to some degree, cut him off from the family funds. That's what Rex will tell you. That's straight from his lips to my ears, to everybody's ears. I'm sure Bob can confirm that his father cut him off, his family cut him off. They don't want anything to do with him, and that's also pretty damning to me as well. The family knows better than we do with the evidence in front of us because they had to live through it.
Do you think it would be a good idea to bring Bob up to the panel?
I don't think Bob comes on panels. I don't want to speak for him, but I don't think I've ever seen him on a panel.
Okay. So we are looking at fast forward all the way to June 1st, 2001, correct?
I don't know why I cannot pull up page 1. For some reason, it will not let me do it. Just give me
Maybe
one
fate's
second.
telling you not to. What document do we have in front of us?
This is his handwritten statement, and what you're looking at is actually the second page of it's two. This is page 2 of 2 pages, and this one's pretty gruesome. But
and now remember, this is 15 years later. I'm sorry to cut you off. This is 15 years after the paternity
The first
test.
marriage. Yeah. Well, I would say that we definitely don't want to start with page 2. It'd be more appropriate to start with page 1.
Great analogy. Bird.
The point is there was a 15-year gap of probably abuse. That was my point.
I'm waiting for that to pop up.
Yeah, the interesting part to me is that there is a handwritten statement. And I think that this handwritten statement's kind of been in the background as a big question for a lot of people.
Is that page 1?
yay, that's page 1.
Are you able? Thank you. Are you able to kind of narrate what we're looking
Would
at?
you guys like me try? Well, I mean, I can try to read it, but this is basically his handwritten statement, and he they translated it onto. They typed it up for him, but this is the actual statement that he wrote. I know he was doing a live stream tonight talking about how he was drunk when he wrote it and blah blah blah. But you can see, I mean, he has chicken scratch hands.
Yeah, it looks very well written for being intoxicated.
Because he claimed on that live stream tonight that he was intoxicated.
Well, I would say the only appropriate thing to do at this point, Teresa, would probably be to read it word for word.
Well, let's see.
Well, attempt to is a better word.
Yeah, let me try. Since
Page
I met,
Do you guys have a link to Desert's video? He actually reads it word for word in his video. I think I have a
does
link.
he really? Can you
He
put
sure
it in
does.
private chat?
He sure does. Let me see. Let me see if I can find that.
Because he has a good voice too. He soothes my voice before I go to bed.
I love it. That takes all the guesswork out of it. But I guess ultimately what it breaks down to is that, if you want to keep a child molester out of your house, you should probably unsubscribe to Mouse.
Desert, if you want to hop backstage and give me that link, that would be great. But this is allowing the chat an opportunity to read this.
Yeah, Desert's got a really good video on the reading of it.
Can someone grab it? I'm looking through it myself. Desert's listening, so if you want to...
Yeah, I'm looking right now. I'm having a hard time. I thought I had it bookmarked in there.
If you want to DM it to me, Desert, please do. There's multiple... for anyone in the chat, I got it. Desert sent it to me.
Yeah, so
awesome,
that's
awesome. I think it might be unlisted now. That's why I couldn't find it.
He sent it to me.
okay. But nonetheless, we can read it for ourselves, and it's been up long enough to where I'm sure people are already halfway through it. Is there any way that you guys could just touch on some key points from this first page?
Well, I, I've read this before, but it's been a little while. He talks about in here, that he knew her for about 4 or 5 weeks. He says they met near and began.
All right, hold on. Let me just play this video. It's so much easier.
Awesome.
All right, let me knock that off. There's multiple videos for it. We're going to start off with this one first. Viewer discretion is advised. If anybody's squeamish, go over to the Drama Dome. There, it might be a little bit softcore porn compared to this tonight. Let's go. There's no volume yet. Is that full screen for you guys? Here we go.
Yeah.
Incident report number 01-16634. Case report number 01-1800, dated 6/1/01. Offense, aggravated criminal sexual abuse. Pages 1 through 6 not provided. Page 7. First 9 lines redacted. At about 2:24 a.m., RPD dispatched officers to the redacted residence on a complaint that Rex Fredrickson was at the front door wanting to talk to redacted. On my arrival in the area, I found him walking away from the residence near Belmont Drive and Dalhart Avenue. When I asked him why he had been at the residence, he stated he had, quote, spurned, unquote, a girl there and needed to make sure she was all right. I explained the allegation made by redacted and took him into custody for further investigation. At about 3:05 p.m., I advised Fredrickson of his constitutional rights, Miranda warnings. Continued. Page 8, which he waived. Detective Sullivan was present for the warnings and interview. Fredrickson related that he had initially introduced himself to redacted because she looked, quote, depressed, unquote. He had tried to cheer her up by asking her to marry him. He befriended her over the next several weeks and did things such as walk his dogs and give each other back rubs. He had also described the workings of his internet business and discussed her working as a salesperson. As time went on, they, quote, crossed more lines, unquote, with their physical behavior. He stated that he knew this was wrong because she was only 16 years old. He also explained that he was, quote, stressed, unquote, due to 2 years of celibacy. On 5/28 or 5/29, redacted had come to his house, and while alone in his bedroom, she had masturbated him to ejaculation. She had initiated the encounter. He also stated that on 5/30/01, redacted had come to his home again, and they had gone into his bedroom alone. They had mutually undressed each other. He stated that he touched her breasts and buttocks. Continued. Page 9. Performed cunnilingus on her and had penetrated her vagina with his, lined out with initial correction LPM, quote, 2 fingers, unquote. He also stated that redacted had tried to position herself to force him into vaginal intercourse. He was unable to penetrate her vagina with his penis due to her being, quote, too dry, unquote, and a tampon being present. He stated that he eventually ejaculated after rubbing his penis in the exterior of her vagina. He described this as, quote, dry fucking, unquote. He denied using any threats or force. He stated that the sexual encounters had been for mutual gratification. Fredrickson provided a written statement. Note, Due to legibility, the statement was later transcribed to type format. At about 5 p.m., Fredrickson was released pending review by SAO and approval of complaints. Reporting officer's signature, field supervisor's signature. Second officer's report, 6101. I witnessed Rex Fredrickson waive his rights to Detective McNamara at about 3:05 p.m. Rex subsequently confessed to engaging in sexual acts with redacted, including cunnilingus, digital penetration of redacted vagina with 2 fingers, and rubbing his penis on redacted vagina. This occurred Wednesday night, 5:30:01, per Rex Fredrickson, at his residence in his bed. Redacted was a willing and active partner during this time, had come to his house on her own volition. Rex stated that Redacted gave him a, quote, hand job, unquote, Monday or Tuesday when she came over to his house. Rex stated he had known Redacted for about 4 weeks. Rex gave a written statement which Detective McNamara and I witnessed. Rex stated that Redacted wanted to have full intercourse, but he refrained from doing so. He also stated Redacted was having her period and had a tampon in during Wednesday night's sexual encounter. He stated he did ejaculate on her. Rex was released pending SAO review and approval for complaints. Officer's signature, field supervisor's signature, supervisor approving signature.
Can we kind of unpack that? One of the biggest things I'm hearing on a consistent basis whenever I see him on a panel is he never confessed. He never confessed. He never confessed. Flathead. Kind of unpack what we just read and what your thoughts on it.
I always have a hard time listening to that. I had a hard time the first time and this time too. Let's remember he was 38. She was 16. Let's start there. 38. I have an 11-year-old daughter, and as a father, even if my daughter was 16, I'm not sure he would even have a trial. I'm not sure he'd even make it that far. That's just my opinion on it. It's just, I mean, it's disgusting, and there's no two ways around what you just. Everything you heard was directly from an open records request.
T, is there any way that what we just read could have been fabricated, document, anything that would make him look like a victim other than what the majority of this chat room is perceiving him as?
Well, I know that these records came, directly from the police department, and they're older, they're hand written. But I don't know that there's anything in there that, even based on his statement, his own statement, that his handwritten statement, it's the same as what the police are saying that he said. So I don't know how you can discredit that. There's a couple of other things that I also noticed in that when you're, we're unpacking it. One of the things that I noticed him say, or that the police officer said, was that Mouse thought that this girl was depressed. I thought she was depressed. And that's something that kind of caught my ear, because it's something that, these sex offenders will look for in their victims is, a certain type of victim. They don't go after just anyone. So, they go after victims that they think no one's going to care about, that no one's going to believe, what have you. And here's this girl sitting, at this hot dog stand looking depressed. And so that kind of caught my eye. And there's one other thing, too, that I wanted to point out with regards to this statement, that these statements that he's giving to the police, is that never in any of this does he talk about nightclub or being a DJ or this girl having a fake ID or anything like that. So that was something that I wanted to point out, because that's something that I heard and I have heard him say over and over again about this young lady, is that, she had a fake ID and she was in a bar and he was a DJ and blah, blah, blah. And, according to the records and his own statement, nothing could be further from the truth.
So let's go with the crazy logic that the police made this up. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to play the video of his confession. Now, Teresa, if you can go through your email, and there was a video that was timestamped by Flathead that had the admission where he admitted on YouTube that he did this. Are you able to cue that up while we go through this video?
Yes, I'll work on that right.
All right, let's do it. Flathead, you good?
Uh-huh. The
right.
victim statement is even worse than what you just heard.
This is beyond viewer discretion is advised. I know we have over 100 people in here, and this is beyond viewer discretion is advised. This is not for the weak at heart. This is not for anybody who this may cause PTSD. And if it does, I am beyond sorry. But this is something that needs to happen tonight. This is something that needs to happen for the voice of the voiceless. This is something that needs to happen for all the people who don't have a voice, who can't get on a platform and can't tell the truth and expose someone who needs to be exposed, potentially. Go ahead.
Tell me one more time what you need me to pull.
In the email that you got, it is one of the YouTube videos of where he admitted on a panel that he did something 20 years ago.
Okay.
It's titled 18 Months He's Been Attacking People.
Right.
Okay.
All right, so you cue that up while I play this. Here we go. Guys, I can't stress this enough. We have a ticker. Viewer discretion is advised.
Statement of redacted. Date 5/31/01. Case 01-1800. I met Rex Warfield on 4/23/01 when I met him randomly at Steamer's Hot Dogs. Redacted. He introduced himself to me by saying, quote, "Hi, would you marry me?" unquote. Over the next couple of weeks, we talked at Steamer's. He told me about his business, quote, Sunbird Entertainment, unquote, and invited me over to his house to learn about his business website. On Redacted, I told him that it was my 16th birthday. On Monday, 5/28/01, I went to his house, 428 Dalhart, for the first time. I was there from about 1:30 p.m. to 4 p.m. During that, we talked about his business and himself. He told me his name was Rex Warfield and that he was 40 years old. On Tuesday, 5/29/01, I went to his house again. There were some others there, so we went into his room to talk about his business without being distracted by their noise. At some point during that time, he also asked me if I was a virgin. I was still a virgin, but did not want him to know because it was none of his business, so I did not answer. After talking for about 20-30 minutes, he started playing with my pants belt buckle and undid my pants button. I asked him what he was doing and pushed him away. I left the house right away after this. On Wednesday, 5/30/01, I went to his house again at about 2 p.m. There were other people there and we talked until about 5:30. He and I then went into his room to talk alone. After about 20 minutes, he started kissing me on the mouth and neck and touching my breasts and buttocks. I did not want him to do this and became very scared and, quote, blocked it out, unquote. I wanted to say, quote, no, unquote, but was afraid that if I said, quote, no, unquote, it would happen anyway and be worse. I remember having unprotected vaginal intercourse one time. After the sex, he looked into my genital area and said, quote, oh good, I didn't tear anything, unquote, and, quote, well, at least now my rage is over, unquote. I got dressed and left his house right away. I was really upset and did not tell anybody about it until my counselor, Redacted, asked me what was bothering me. Signed, Redacted, witness, Redacted. Statement prepared by Detective Lawrence McNamara, Romeoville Police Department.
All right, Teresa. very deep there. Um, unpack that, unpack what your thoughts are. And this was the direct statement from the victim.
Well, again, what jumps out at me is the grooming, the way that these people choose their victims, and, the way they kind of play on their emotions. Will you marry me? Probably sang her songs. Who knows?
Mm-hmm. So we got a couple options here. Do you want to pull up the confession, or do you want me to play the written confession first, and then we'll go to that after the fact? What do you think should be done? I think we should play his own words, his written confession first, and then we move on after that.
Can I stop you for a second? Because I don't want to miss out on the point of the victim's statements.
Okay.
And I think some of the things about the victim statements, that really kind of ring in the back of my head, being that I've had previous conversations with Mouse, and there's been a lot of concern around the truthfulness around the age of the victim. Mouse said that originally it was 9, and then it was 11, and then it was 15, and then it was 19, right? So he changes it, constantly. And this is that habit of what I was talking about, how he puts out so much misinformation and makes it difficult to actually figure out what's what until you look at the documents. And the document clearly states from the victim that she was just hitting her 16th birthday. And
when he was 15.
say again.
Just like his first wife, she was 15 when he was hanging out with her at the hot dog stand.
Yes, but this is 15 years later.
Yes, sir. That was my point. There was a 15-year gap where what happened?
So let's not, like I said, miss the point of the victim statements, right? So the victim statement says that, the first time that this had happened, he was taking things too far and she was uncomfortable. She left, and then she was, ignorant enough to put herself in the same situation. And this time, Mouse ultimately had taken full control of the situation to a point where she felt too scared to use the words no. She felt too frightened to try to get out of the situation a second time because of Mouse's rage, right? And what rage are we talking about? Are we talking about the 2-year frustration that Mouse experienced of being abstinent? Are we talking about the rage that he's attacking a victim, and that was like, the rage is what he's getting off on? I mean, what are we talking about there? And I think the significance is that she was apparently so frightened by it that she couldn't even speak out.
Right. She said she was afraid to tell anyone. She didn't tell anyone until she finally confessed to her counselor.
And good on that counselor, right? Like, good on that counselor for spotting that and then approaching that situation, from the sounds of the confession or the statement from the victim, from my understanding. That's
So let's play this first, because this is his actual words. Then we'll play his actual words now. T has that already queued up. So let's.
He's also 6'3". You got to remember, he's a very, and back then he was younger, a little chunkier. He's 6'3". That's a little imposing on a 15-year-old girl.
The disturbing part that I heard was the rage, where he mentioned he got his rage out.
Well, I'm saying that's why she was afraid too.
Or the good I didn't tear you. Sorry, I didn't mean to speak over your flathead.
No, the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean that has got to be some of the most gruesome and like used up feeling you could have inside to hear someone say something like that to you. Like, good, I didn't even tear you.
Right.
Like, what good? You didn't leave no fucking evidence? Like, fuck you.
Here we go.
Sorry. Yeah.
Transcription. Statement of Rexay Fredrickson. DOB 12-162, page 1. Date 6/1/01. Misspelled word, case 01-1800. I met, redacted, 4 or 5 weeks ago. She found out that I lived near and she began coming to my house before and after work. To get in order of occurrence, I invited her to walk my dogs for promotional effort, having painted me dog blue to attract people's attention. This is the first instance of physical contact. We exchanged back rubs. As time progressed, we became less aware of boundaries. On or about 5/28/01, she came to my house. We gathered in my bedroom to talk and watch TV. I had discussed working for Sunbird as a salesperson prior to this and laid on the bed with notebook to explain what may be asked of salespeople and began cuddling. During this time, she placed her hand in my pants and began rubbing me. She did this till I came. I didn't force her to do this. She laid across me face up, and I was face up during this time. She left shortly after this and came back that evening, on or about 5:30:01. She came over again, and after helping or following me through my chores, we went to my bedroom to talk about her quitting her job. She backed me to the bed and with no room gave me no choice but to pull myself up and lay down. She laid on top of me to continue to cuddle. I spoke of dangers we could have at my expense. We continued to cuddle and, unreadable, each other clothed as we would be for swimming. Her top was off and her bra. She gave me room between us so I might kiss her breasts and shoulders as she was on top. Page 2. We continued to cuddle with clothes mostly off and rolled back and forth to try turns on top as we unreadable each other. She allowed me to kiss her about the neck and down her stomach till I was having oral sex with her. We changed back and forth, getting more carried away. We unreadable, dry fucked until with her on top and she relocated herself 2 times, maybe 3, and tried to push herself on me. I pulled us over with me on top and placed myself above her opening to slide as we were snuggling, lifted herself to alignment parts. After a silent argument of placement, scratched out sentence, as we placed ourselves in different positions and as close as I was to intercourse. In the excitement, I came. During the cuddling, we mutually masturbated each other. She stroked my penis with her hand. I masturbated her with 2 fingers inside and outside of her vagina as she moved to signify which she wanted. At no time was force used or displayed by either of us. At no point did I threaten or make aggressive movements or verbal abuse of her. All that had happened was in mutual gratification. The statement is true and correct to my knowledge. This is the letter that came back with my FOIA request, and what you are about to see was returned to me by State's Attorney of Will County. This is the handwritten statement by Rex Allen Fredrickson, of which the typed transcript came from, and I read earlier.
So this is his actual handwriting.
Yes, that's
So-
the handwritten statement.
It's safe to say Rex is in our chat under a fake name, which is Kamala. What is it? Kamala Hurt. Karma Hurts. Another one. Another fake document. Just more proof all of you are grade school brain powers. How in the flying fuck can what we just played be perceived as a fake document? Any one of you three want to help me with that?
I would like to just challenge anyone to come up with, if you think these documents are fake, go get the real ones. Go get them and prove us wrong and put us in our place. That's what I challenge you to do. Go make the public record request yourself. There's charges. You know they exist. Go make the record request yourself and prove us wrong. Knock us off this pedestal.
I don't want to lose sight of the statements that were made in this handwritten statement. And the funny part is at no point did either one of them use force, but yet moments earlier in the handwritten statement, he's describing her being forcefully pushing him to the bed and ultimately trying to seduce him.
So is
See
that
how
his
he
signature?
thought.
So is that his signature right there?
That's what it looks like to me.
I mean, everything has been written by him, and he essentially puts his hands up and says, "I didn't write it." Even
Well,
though
and it doesn't look like it's illegible either. Ultimately, if you were so intoxicated, like Mouse proclaims, then why would you be able to so easily read what's in front of you?
I'll tell you something about him being so intoxicated that the police would take a statement from him in that condition. And, we all know that's bullshit. I mean, that's bullshit. You know, they had to wait until he sobered up to talk to him at the very least. Really.
well, I think we know it's bullshit, but the question is, did that just say haha? What the fuck is not now, maybe later with a title like that? I thought I got porn bombed, and that's the title of Andrew's stream tonight. What the fuck? Sorry, focus, Sancho. Can we kind of break down Flathead? What kind of pops in your head after reading a statement like that?
He's guilty. He's guilty by his own words. He refused a jury or a judge trial. He pled guilty. He waived his rights. His rights were read to him. Everything seems legitimate to me. Now, on my little video, my little teaser video, I said, why would a detective try to keep a man from leaving the state? And, that's his lawsuit right now with Illinois. Why would that detective try to refuse? I believe 1,000% that detective knew what a real danger and how long this man had been doing this, and the pattern that police will pick up on, which is why pattern is so important to establish. Because that's how everybody, including the courts, establish whatever you're going to go through. There's got to be a pattern. There's got to show proof of it. And there's so much proof that to say anything else is just, I mean, holy crap.
So what am I looking at right now?
Looks like you're looking at the same
signature.
Yeah, and that looks like the same signature we've seen on the handwritten statement.
Exactly. So that confirms that's his signature. That confirms he wrote it. That confirms he signed it.
I agree.
All right, so let's just pretend like guy's bullshit. He's a victim. He'll never himself admit on a YouTube show or publicly that he did this, would he? Would he, Teresa? Now, can you hit that box, the bottom right? You see that box? That blows it up more so it's bigger. So let's.
I will. I'm going to go to full screen, but I won't. I won't be able to keep my mic open while I do it.
No problem. So there's no possibility that he's going to admit it on the internet. No way.
They deleted my fucking evidence online and showed that I couldn't sit there and show. The people have fucking seen those documents know better, and they're the ones that have caused this political thing for me, huh? Well, fuck you too. 20 years ago. Wah. What you're doing is today, people. You're fucking people today. I fucked somebody 20 years ago.
Pause it.
So let's say it's true. Okay, I'm the worst fucking thing on the goddamn planet 20 years ago. You are the fucking worst thing on this planet today. Did you notice something else? There's no waiver in this show. Sue me, bitch. No waiver. No imagination. No ink blot test. You're crap. If you continue this, you are crap. That's the if. That's the only if. Can you learn from your fucking mistakes and start doing the job? You have a CA network that has done nothing since its creation except a logo and have fucking Cop Cam busting his ass making you a program that will never be used. You fucking leech, you have drawn the expertise away from actually getting the goddamn job done to make you a fucking program that will never be used for a network that is already disbarred. This has been Beware Mouse, WDRN, Wicked Development Radio Network. We have been here for 20 years.
All right, let's
and we'll
pause
be
that.
here for 20 more. This has been
Let's pause
Beware
it.
Mouse.
So, did we not hear him say what he said, or is it just me?
Elaborate.
Flathead, is that the timestamp you wanted to play because it started from the beginning?
Yeah, he says, let's say I fucked somebody 20 years ago. Well, and he gives you the middle finger like, fuck you,
And then he says what after that?
And then he says, I'm guilty. I'm the biggest piece of shit 20 years ago. So I think that's the point of that video and why I sent that is because I think that's the closest to the truth he's ever come to telling you the truth. Ever.
It's right off the jump.
I would agree.
It's right off the jump, Teresa. You can start from the beginning. I mean, it's right off the jump. He says,
Okay.
They deleted my fucking evidence online and showed that I couldn't sit there and show. The people have fucking seen those documents. No better, and they're the ones that have caused this political thing for me, huh? Well,
so he's saying that the documents aren't available.
Well, what you're doing is today, people. You're fucking people today. I fucked somebody 20 years ago.
right there.
So let's say it's true.
Right there.
Bam.
Okay.
That he fucked someone 20 years ago.
There you go.
That's close. And then, never lose focus of the fact that 15 years earlier, his first wife was 15 when she gave birth.
15 years earlier.
Never lose focus of that because what happened in between those 15 years that we don't know about? Why did his father say, I'm tired of these young girls coming over my house? Where Flash in the Pan that's in the chat, I believe was the person that told me that through an email many months ago.
So, 36 people think he's still a victim right now in the poll. I'm going to play this last video from Desert on this situation. Just remember, 36 people have voted him as a victim so far.
We're here. We are if.
All right. Boo.
Well, good morning, everybody. And before we get started, I would like to point out that it is after midnight Pacific Standard Time on the 19th, and it looks as if week 3 of 2020 was an arrest-free week. I have seen no notable arrests this week. So congratulations. So let's get started on the subject matter here. We are going to be discussing Rex Allen Fredrickson, Beware Mouse on YouTube, and we are going to be discussing the issue of his 3 counts of aggravated criminal sexual abuse, as you can see here. We have recently obtained copies of case number 2001 CF 890 from the 12th Judicial Circuit of Will County, Illinois, the people of the state of Illinois versus Rex A. Fredrickson. This is the original criminal complaint with the charge on this 5th day of June 2001. Complainant Detective L. McNamara charges the commission of an offense as follows. Count 1, on or about May 30th, 2001. At and within Will County, Illinois, Rex A. Frederickson, a male person, committed the offense of aggravated criminal sexual abuse, a Class 2 felony. In that said defendant knowingly committed an act of sexual penetration with a J.W. who was at least 13 years of age but under 17 years of age, and that the defendant placed his tongue in the vagina of J.W., and the defendant was at least 5 years older than J.W., in violation of Chapter 270, Section 512-16, subsection D of the Illinois Compiled Statutes, 1999. And on count 2, on or about May 30th, 2001, at and within Will County, Illinois, Rex A. Frederickson, a male person, committed the offense of aggravated criminal sexual abuse, Class 2 felony, in that said defendant knowingly committed an act of sexual penetration with J.W., who was at least 13 years of age but under 17 years of age, and that the defendant placed his finger in the vagina of J.W., and the defendant was at least 5 years older than J.W., in violation of Chapter 720, Section 5/12-16, subsection D of the Illinois Compiled Statutes, 1998. And was signed, undersigned, being duly sworn and on oath, says that the foregoing charges is true, and was signed by McNamara. And here is the bill of indictment. And this was People of the State of Illinois versus Rex A. Frederickson. Indictment returned by grand jury, impaneled by the Circuit Court of the 12th Judicial Circuit, County of Will, State of Illinois, on May 23, 2001. The grand jurors chosen, selected, and sworn in and for the County of Will in the State of Illinois, in the name and by the authority of the people of the State of Illinois, upon their oaths, present that, count 1, on or about May 30, 2001, at and within Will County, Illinois, Rex A. Frederickson, a male person, committed the offense of aggravated criminal sexual abuse, Class 2 felony, in that said defendant knowingly committed an act of sexual penetration with J.W., who was at least 13 years of age but under 17 years of age, in that the defendant placed his penis in the vagina of J.W., and the defendant was at least 5 years older than J.W., in violation of Chapter 720, Section 5/12-16, subsection D of the Illinois Compiled Statute 2000, contrary to the statute and against the peace and dignity of the same people of the State of Illinois. And count 2, on or about May 30th, 2001, at and within Will County, Illinois, Rex A. Frederickson, a male person, committed the offense of aggravated criminal sexual abuse, Class 2 felony, in that said defendant knowingly committed an act of sexual penetration with J.W., who was at least 13 years of age but under 17 years of age, in that the defendant placed his mouth on the vagina of J.W., and the defendant was at least 5 years older than J.W., in violation of Chapter 720, Section 5/12-16, subsection D of the Illinois Compiled Statutes 2000, contrary to the statute and against the peace and dignity of the same people of the State of Illinois. And count 3, on or about May 30th, 2001, at and within Will County, Illinois, Rex A. Frederickson, a male person, committed the offense of aggravated criminal sexual abuse, Class 2 felony, in that said defendant knowingly committed an act of sexual penetration with J.W., who was at least 13 years of age but under 17 years of age, and that the defendant placed his finger in the vagina of J.W., and the defendant was at least 5 years older than J.W., in violation of Chapter 720, Section 5/12-16, subsection D of the Illinois Compiled Statutes 2000, contrary to the statute and against the peace and dignity of the same people of the State of Illinois. A true bill. And there was the witness who testified, Larry McNamara, and bail was set at $15,000. A warrant of arrest was stayed to issue, and the judge of the circuit court down here you can see signed. And this is also was returned to me as part of the public records request that Rex Fredrickson put in a plea of guilty. I do hereby enter my appearance in this case and plead guilty to the offense as charged therein. I understand the nature of the charge against me and understand the penalties prescribed for the offense for which I am charged. I hereby waive my right to a jury trial, waive my right to confront and cross-examine witnesses who would testify against me, waive my right to not incriminate myself, and I subject myself to the penalty that shall be imposed by the judge. I do all of the above freely and voluntarily with a signature, which I am assuming is Rex Allen Fredrickson. And here is the original probation order. And this was late April of 2003. And when I was reading over this, you can see that will complete sex offender counseling and will not have contact with any people under the age of 18 years, shall not have contact with the victim nor the victim's family, and for 48 months. And right up there on the top, on the state defendant here, and have been convicted of the offenses of aggravated sexual abuse, 3 counts. And then this was also returned. This was another probation order, which was from January of 2004. And pretty much the same, that the defendant shall not have contact with anybody under the age of 18, not including his family. And that defendant is ordered to obtain a drug alcohol evaluation, comply with the recommendations herein, and defendant is ordered to complete sex offender counseling through a counselor approved by probation, along with all of the other requirements of probation for 48 months. And there you go. That's what we have as far as what was obtained through a public records request of Will County. As you can see, Rex Fredrickson, Beware Mouse, did plead guilty and waived his rights to a jury trial. Thank you very much for watching.
Wow. So
Now let's talk about that,
let's do
because
so.
you know, he certainly wasn't drunk whenever he showed up to court that day and signed those papers. Now, was he? Just saying, you know, that was his excuse today, is that he was drunk when he wrote out the statement. But, you know, he had a chance to sober up before he pled guilty to all.
What if he was drunk when he signed the confession and when he pled guilty? What if he's just drunk all the time and that's why he did it? What if?
I've never seen him drink alcohol before.
No, Teresa, I think he was just drunk on rage. According to his
Has
victim
anyone ever
statement.
seen him? Has anyone ever seen him drink alcohol? I've never seen it. I mean, maybe he did back then or what have you, but I know he smokes a lot of marijuana on screen on the live panels and stuff. But
Don't we all?
So
Well,
yeah, but I haven't. Yeah, but I've never seen him, you know, drink. Maybe
So-
he does. I don't know that.
So Rex is in the chat and he's actually mirroring this.
I've
And
seen him drink, just for the record. I've seen him drink. He doesn't drink a lot. I've seen him drunk on a live stream a few times.
so this is
Rex,
what he
do you drink?
does. He speaks another language, hoping you understand it. He says, why not get the real affidavit rather than read what little they use to fake charges? So,
I'm
flathead.
just going to say again. I'm going to say again though to him. And I'm sorry, I'm interrupting, but you know, why doesn't he get them? I mean, you know, everything that was there was requested. So, you know, if you think there's something else there, go get it. But he, then he'll spin that. He'll say, there's, because there was no affidavits. He'll say, get the affidavits. There's no affidavits. This is the record. This is what there was. There wasn't any affidavits. There wasn't any extra stuff. Nothing's missing. There's nothing else to get.
Who would sign an affidavit? Wouldn't that have to be another witness or a third party?
Absolutely, a third party would. I mean, an affidavit from witnesses or what have you. Yeah, definitely.
Wouldn't that be difficult to do though if you were behind closed doors, alone with somebody?
It seems like it, certainly would be hard to find 15 or something witnesses that he claims were, their affidavits are missing. It seems like it'd be difficult to, first of all, lose all of that, and second of all, to fit all those people in that room.
I agree.
Can I just say that he was indicted? He was absolutely 100% indicted, which is very important in all felony cases. He was found guilty of 3 charges, not 1, 3. He waived all of his rights. He was read his Miranda rights properly. He knew what he was signing. They would never allow you in court incoherent signing anything because it would be thrown out of court just on that basis alone. And that's the bottom line. And 15 years earlier, he was making 15-year-olds pregnant. So enough said.
Well, there is a lot to be said for the pattern, I guess, that seems to be emerging. I don't really know exactly what to say about that. I don't know that. I know that there has not been any further charges, but he definitely wrote a statement. There was not any other affidavits or any other statements from any other witnesses. There wasn't any videotaped anything, recorded anything. It's small town, and geez, the man confessed, and then wrote it down for him and signed it. So there was, not too much wiggling out of that, or what we call, as we say in Louisiana, crawfishing his way out of that.
I mean, why would you put your name on a document that claims that your mouth was in an area, your fingers were in an area? If that was so far from the truth, Mouse, I know you're listening, why would you say you did that? Why would you sign that with your name if you didn't do that? I mean, I wouldn't put my name there if I didn't do that. And if I had to go to jail for 20 years to fight the fact that I was innocent, guess what I'm doing? I'm going to go to jail and fucking appeal that bitch till I get out if I'm innocent.
Beyond that, you'd at least want to run it by a jury. You'd at least want to be convicted not by just a prosecution and a judge, but yet, your peers if you were innocent. There's a point where you have to draw the line to where you don't plead guilty to things that you're not guilty of.
I mean,
did he have a choice? Did he have a choice?
Let me just say, if I said, "Hey, man, I think you, killed that lady," and I'm gonna put this confession out, and you're gonna put your name on it, and you're gonna look at me and go, "I didn't fucking kill no lady." I'm gonna go, "Well, listen, don't matter. I need you to put the fucking name here. There's gonna be no trial. You're gonna fucking just plead. Come on." It doesn't work that way.
So the question is, though, is as it being 20 years ago, is Mouse now reformed? Has Mouse just gotten better at getting away with shit? Has Mouse shown any characteristics such as the ones that I see with the Nightbot in his room, right? The Nightbot that's programmed to say things like adults only, regardless of age. So where do we draw the line on what's reformed, and is there any redemption there since? Or is it just the same old story? Has Mouse just gotten better at doing what Mouse does?
I certainly think he's found a way to spin it in his mind to excuse it. That's my personal opinion. But there was one other point that I wanted to make, in that if you watch Mouse long enough, that he claims to be a journalist since he was 15, and that he's, been reading law books for, since he was 6 months old, et cetera, et cetera. And then he makes a claim that, he is going to go into, sit down in an interrogation with police officers, and it wants us to believe that in all of the laws and all of the things that he knows, that he would sit there and confess, that he wouldn't just shut up. I mean, it seems like as much law experience as he has, he would have known to just close your mouth, because without that confession, there's, very little that probably would have been done at that time.
Damn. We're talking about the same mouse, right? Like the time traveler slash knows the secrets to all ends of the universe,
So
military expert.
Yeah, that's right. And what in
Okay.
one jump, he wants us to believe that he knows the law and he knows this and he knows that, and then he takes a giant leap over it and says, they tricked me. They forced this confession out of me. I was drunk, this and that, blah blah blah. And
So-
I mean, how are we supposed to believe?
So Rex is like denying right now on his stream that he didn't write and sign his own statement. He went through his script and signed off on it. That's his defense mechanism, kicking in. He didn't write it, not his handwriting. Everyone should just believe him and just go away, right?
Why would you sign your signature to anything that you didn't agree to?
He's alleging he didn't sign anything. He didn't
Oh,
acknowledge.
so that wasn't the same defendant signature as we seen on the handwritten confession?
I know. It's funny you asked that.
I mean, do we need to do a side by side comparison?
So one of the really creepy things that I found it with this is the luring aspect of mentioning his businesses. T, do you have that queued up right now when it comes to the business aspect? Because he, it was almost like a pickup line to a minor where he's mentioning how he has these businesses. So I kind of want to talk about those businesses and kind of debunk those businesses right now, if that's okay.
Well, what I have queued up, I believe, is some of the information with regards to a fella named Brown.
Dave Brown.
Maybe Flathead can fill us in a little bit more about it.
Yeah, he was a friend of Mouse that I believe he met in North Dakota. He was a person, looking through his records, which I have, had a lot of businesses, a lot of LLCs. It looked like maybe there were some scams, like I know that businesses will change their names if they get sued a lot. So, I wonder about that a little bit. But if you look at the A1000, which is what she's showing you right now, that's the business that he claims is, this big legitimate business, and it's still legitimate and it's still 100% legit. But if you look at the bottom circle on that picture right there, you will see that when David Brown died in a car accident, the business was dissolved. It's been gone for years, that business. And that
what's the business's name? What's the business name?
The business name is A1000.
Okay.
It was
Does
a legitimate, but it has been, he's pushing this as a legitimate business.
Does this business have anything to do with WDRN or this radio thing that he had going?
Yep, has everything to do with it. This is the business, and also the gentleman, Thomas Ruby, with anybody who watches his channel, and I know a lot of people do, was the CEO of this A1000. They talk about it. I have videos of them mentioning A1000, and he's as powerful as CNN. I got so many more videos I didn't give to you that you would just fall off of your chair.
Right, and that has been an issue because when I first started watching Mouse, he was running this WDRN radio station, blah blah blah, selling advertisement, whatever. and trying to get this equipment going and what have you. And so I think that in Discord, probably it's been a couple of years ago, we're looking into all of that issue with him, using this radio station and what have you. And it seems like we had figured out that maybe maybe the FCC or someone had sent him a letter and said that he couldn't do it anymore. It seems like, and I don't remember that exactly, but maybe that was tied to this.
Oh, funny you mentioned that, Teresa. FCC letter. What a coincidence you mentioned that. So
Somebody did their homework.
This is a FCC letter that was sent to Russ Fredrickson. What are we looking at for a date here? Are we able to see the date?
March 17th, 2008.
Right. 2008, the Chicago office received information that an unlicensed broadcast radio station on 97.3 MHZ was allegedly operating in Joliet, Illinois. Well, I don't know if I'm saying it right. Joliet. On March 6, 2008, and March 13, 2008, agents from this office confirmed by direction finding techniques that radio signals on frequency 97.3 MHZ were emanating from Greg's Body Shop, 221 Oakleaf Street, whatever that is. The commission's records show that no license was issued for operation of a broadcast station on 97.3. How the fuck were they able to essentially hijack a signal, Flathead?
It takes equipment, dude. You use basic satellite shits, and yeah, next thing you know, you're pushing airwaves.
He was running a pirate station, and he claims that by this letter, he uses this letter to prove he was running a radio station. Okay, I don't know what idiot would ever use this letter to prove that their radio station was illegitimate out of a body shop.
What's the name of the body shop? What was the name of the body shop again?
Craig's Body Shop.
We should call them and ask them if they're still taking commercial slots.
Yeah, how much would a bumper be for your rally, Liberty Bird? We should call them and see.
Yeah. I want to know how much it would cost me to run my protest rally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're looking
wrap
at
your car.
Station.
And that's
wrap your car.
Oh man.
So USC 52E3, we are informing you that the commission staff will use all relevant material information before it is determined if any enforcement action is required to ensure compliance. James Roop, District Director, Chicago office. Unpack that, Flathead, and what do you think about that?
Say again, I'm sorry.
So, is that the only business that we have an issue with, or is there a little bit more there?
Well, yes. Just a couple of months ago, and he does this every few months before he lost his internet. Like, he had okay internet. Now he's got like real shit internet because he can't afford shit because he doesn't want to work. Shit, I lost my train of thought.
Sorry, we were on the fact that it's hard to find employment when you're a sex offender.
It's hard to what?
Find employment when you're a sex offender.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, he worked one job that I've known of in the last 2 years, and he only did it and he blames the trolls. Well, the trolls called and they got me fired, and I don't buy it for a second. It was a Burger King job. Listen, I think what he did was disgusting, but I'd never call Burger King. I don't give a fuck where he works.
So is he a registered sex offender currently? Yes
or no?
Yes,
100% yes.
He's on record stating that he's not.
He is 100%. You can Google him. You will find him. He's got to register annually. Or I don't know if it's a week or I don't know how many days if you like move from address to address. But if he doesn't move, I believe it's annually.
So we talked about Dave Brown and Rex. So this document right here, in your opinion, T, does what?
Well, I think this, Flathead could probably explain more, but I think this kind of ties Rex to the Brown fellow. This maybe is giving you his associates. Can you
Yes,
explain more?
these are known associates. So these are people. There's two tiers: known associates, and then below that are likely associates. So this top tier are people that they're pretty goddamn sure that he was directly connected to.
Wow. Wow.
And he's on the top line right there. And if you look right below Rex's name, you will find the other name, who was the CEO, Thomas, of WDRN. This
What do you know
radio.
about Thomas?
Yeah, doesn't that guy have his own set of sex crimes or something similar?
Okay, well, we did our research on this, and I believe somebody has this already.
We will. Give me a minute.
Yep. And I'm just going to give you the little lead into it. I'll let you get it.
Lead in does not mean silence. What are you doing, my guy? You're
Well,
supposed
go
to
ahead.
talk.
Go ahead. Get it up.
I'm kidding. So is this what you're talking about?
Yeah, I just want the evidence up so when I explain it. So
How's
now, perfect. So now there's an article in 1985 Chicago newspaper. If you look up the name Thomas Shrewby, which is up top there, you guys will see, and you Google his name and you type in 1985 Chicago, you will come across an article. Now, in that article, there's an address of 8301. And we looked up Thomas's files and his records, and we found that the article directly links the Thomas that directly links Mouse because he lived at 8301. So his arrest record matches the year. There's an actual 1985 something. I can't really read the actual chart.
So are you saying they live together?
They were roommates in North Dakota. They were roommates in Colorado.
So let me put that screen up. Do you have it too?
So he was absolutely. This is what he was responsible for right here. He was also questioned in an 8-year-old's murder. I'm going to repeat that. He was also questioned in an 8-year-old's murder. Okay, the 10-year-old girl identified him. They identified his vehicle. They identified his address as 8301 West Foster Avenue. When you pull up Thomas's record, you will find that he lived at 8301 West Foster Avenue.
Wow.
This article.
Is this the same story from 1985?
This is the article of the 8-year-old girl that he was, or 7 or 8, I forget. Whatever it is, it's too goddamn young, and I hate this article. Where young child was murdered and Thomas was questioned. He was not found to be the person responsible, but law enforcement found him to be such a problem that they actually questioned him. And this is Mouse's roommate, and this is confirmable.
Now, do you know if they found the person guilty of this?
They found somebody guilty of it, but the fact of the matter is he tried to kidnap a 10-year-old who identified him personally, and then he was questioning this. It's just, it's just a lot. And it shows, again, what we're trying to do here, guys, is show a pattern. This is a roommate.
So the girl, hold on, let's not gloss over this. A 22-year-old Norridge man, Thomas Shrewby, was held in connection with an attack on a 10-year-old girl on Chicago's Northwest Side after the girl said he tried to grab her and take her into his car. That's what the girl said. So it's right there written, so it's not just you saying it, it's right there.
Here's my question, and I'm going to keep saying this fucking question because this is the question that matters. What would have happened if he got that girl and that car? Would she be alive today?
T.
Well, I'm 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 glad that this little girl was able to get away from him. But yeah, it's kind of scary that people like that. I mean, there are people like that out there. We should all be aware that there are people like that out there. That they go to jail, they do a little time, they plead out on these little plea deals that they get, and they are back out on the streets around our children, around our grandchildren. So just you know, they're out there.
Jeez.
Just creeps me out, to think, that this guy
This
would have
isn't
done
easy.
something like that, and he's
I know.
walking the streets.
Well, yeah,
This
but-
isn't easy.
how-
Hey guys, I'm going to make it even sicker. Thomas's motorcycle, he has a bicycle with a motor on it, and it broke down recently because Mouse broke it, and Mouse is a bum, so he can't fix it. So these fucking idiots, and that's what I'm going to call them, encourage Thomas, you just read what, and I told everybody this. The people in his fucking channel that day knew this information. They encouraged him to go live. A Balance, Stunt Dummy, Maggie K, they all went into his channel and donated for that fucker to get his bike fixed. I'm sorry, but I can't even.
One of the things that I have sort of learned to try to understand, and I don't always understand it, is that people and their money. People can do what they want with their money, and I'm not here to tell people what to do with their money. I'm only here to tell people the truth about the person that they're giving money to, and to maybe make you think about just what it is that your money is going towards.
So let's go back to Greg at Greg's Body Shop. An unidentified source did speak to Greg. And I quote, "I spoke with Greg of Greg's Body Shop. He didn't have anything bad to say about Rex, just confirmed he was not a tool holding mechanic for him, was more of a handyman that lived in the yard and worked for approximately 2 years and left on his own. He spoke about his motorhome, think he may have lived out of it, didn't specifically ask. So the radio aspect was clearly not mentioned, besides the fact that this person lived on the property, and that's probably where he was doing the radio from, the bootleg radio station from that property. Property owner was unaware of it.
He was just trying to convince everybody that this advertising that he was just trying to sell to everybody was going to make $1 million a year. He was showing you this great pyramid scam on how it was going to be done. And I'm sitting here thinking, here's a guy who has got no running water. He pisses in a jug. God only knows where he shits. He's got no toilet. He's got nothing. But somehow all of this fucking miracle $1 million a year off of this advertising bullshit, where is it? He doesn't, where did it go? It's been 2 years he's been pushing it. That's what everybody's been donating to. Where did it go? So everybody's donations in the last 2 years, where did that fucking money go? The guy doesn't even have internet, barely.
Well, I don't know that he's ever been really a very good with his.
Listen,
I think
Chris
I think-
Powers.
oh.
No. Hang on, Liberty. Hang on.
Yeah, you're good, buddy.
Hang on, man. I'm sorry. This is important. In 2019, this is a fact. I will. I have this unlisted. I will make this a video you all can view. In 2019, I gave personally $3,000. Chris Powers personally gave him $7,000. That's 10 grand. A bum in a garage can't take 10 grand and start a community channel? It's more than that?
So, quick clarification. Greg did know about the radio station. It was discussed, but he had nothing to do with it. It was all Rex.
Jeez. You know, So I know we're focusing a little bit now on the FCC stuff, but I want to draw us back into just the sexual crimes, right? I want to bring us back into the victim's experience. I want to bring it back to Mouse's own statements. And if you look at what we get from Mouse today, the YouTube, beware of Mouse, the YouTube, I'm going to fill up this conversation with so much misinformation, you won't be able to figure out what truth is. So once we get past that facade and that illusion that Mouse has put over this topic, and we look at the raw documentation, how safe is my kid or anyone else's kid? How safe is a 14-year-old girl or a 15-year-old girl going to be around Mouse at this point? And then my question after that is, how scared should we be as parents? Especially, I would say even me, being that, Mouse lives just down the mountain.
I think without a doubt that like I just got through saying, these people are out there, and they are looking for children that they can abuse. And they're looking for a certain type of child, with low self-esteem, having issues at home. It's a look that they have. They can tell a lot. You hear it a lot. I've heard a lot of these nasty statements from these nasty pedophiles and describing this, oh, well, I saw her and she was crying, or, well, she was very depressed and I was trying to help her through a rough time. And it's because it's the type of victim that they choose. And, in that way that they can, they can spin it later on to say, oh, well, she was crazy. She was this, she was that, and even just to hear it, it just makes me sick. But they're, like I said, getting back to my point, is that those people are out there. And, if you have children or grandchildren, you make sure that, they understand the signs.
Yeah, it's like Mouse's position that it's mutual. It wasn't coercion. It wasn't, that he groomed her from back rubs into petting, into penetration. It's
Exactly.
disgusting.
According
Exactly.
to her,
That doesn't happen.
this was going on 4 to 5 weeks. That means she was 15 for a good month before the 16th birthday, when they were first hanging out.
Well, in the statement, she says that he told her, or he's saying happy birthday to her. Or, she told him it was her birthday, the first, their first encounter, the first time that they met.
I'm about to
So,
turn 16.
he was aware of her age. Yeah, it's my birthday or whatever.
Yeah, I'm about to be 16. So she was pretty much like, I'm almost 16 now. Kids are kids and kids are going to make mistakes.
He was
But
30.
it is a sad day when an adult, a grown-ass man, one that was supposed to have supposedly been in the armed forces, will take advantage of a child and their bad decision making to place themselves in danger.
Well, I think a lot of people forget that too. And, the way he describes his victim as, you know, having a fake ID as if maybe she looked or presented herself. I mean, he has really bashed this woman.
Yeah, and do you think the hot dog?
According to the statements, yeah, she was a little girl, a little 15-year-old girl sitting with her girlfriends eating hot dogs at the hot dog stand when this predator saw.
Yeah, and I'd highly doubt that hot dog stand was the host of a liquor license.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know about wherever they live, but I mean, you couldn't have something. I don't even know if you could allow kids to go in there. I don't know. It doesn't sound like much of a bar to me. It sounded like a little hot dog stand that kids hung out. Either way, well, and you can imagine that if that's what it was, a hot dog stand, a little hot dog shack, and kids hung out there, what was he doing there? What does a person why would a person that would be that age go there and then, you know, entertain a relationship with someone that they met there? That's just typical predator behavior.
You know,
I
even
wanna-
joking aside, or even being on a serious note, when it would ever be appropriate for a grown ass man to walk up to a child and even suggest to marry her? Let alone groom her into a sexual relationship shortly afterwards. Come
Yeah, you
walk
can
my dogs.
imagine.
Come walk
Right.
my
You can
dogs.
imagine
It's
being
okay.
a 15-year-old girl who, in his words, was depressed. Maybe that means low self-esteem, whatever. And that's typically the type of child that they will choose, is a child with low self-esteem that needs a boost from this adult that's, you know, buying
Well,
them
you
things
gotta
and
find the
telling them how
easiest
beautiful they
target.
are.
It's the easiest target, Teresa. You gotta ultimately, find the one out there out of all of them for your little slim pickings that has the easiest ability to manipulate, especially if you're not very good at manipulation like Mouse.
So
You
let's
know,
play. The following's going to anger some people. This was done August 1st, 2020. Big Family Values, big shout out. I'm working on a project with them. We're both busy as hell, but we'll get it done. Um, let's kind of play this video, Flathead, and then we'll get your thoughts on it, and then we'll go to Teresa, and then we'll go to Bird.
Now we got a Chomo on this panel.
That's you, huh?
Are you trying to position yourself higher than other people? Because that's what all this is. Oh, you've got a tin roof. Oh, you got blah, blah, blah. Oh, look, we got a chomo. Look at the idiots that cannot get above doing simple work. Look at the people that are putting you
But
down.
you can't even get off your chair
work
and do
your
your job,
fucking
man.
ass off, and they're wanting to sit there and criticize you because they are jealous.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
what
jealous
it
of you,
boils
Mal.
down
Look at
to.
you.
You're jealous of a chomo, dude. You're lower than a chomo.
Guilty.
It's funny how nobody wants to listen to an intelligent fucking person like Mouse. He has a lot of problems. Everybody wants to attack Mouse. He has a lot of good things you can learn from Mouse. But everybody wants to hold one thing against somebody that's happened over 20 years ago, and they want to just crucify these people for life.
Okay, I got news for you. There's children that are 8 years old being married all over the world right now. As a matter of fact, most of the fucking world says anything above 14 is legal. In Germany, most of the high school students that are girls go to the brothel and work at the brothel at the age of 16 in order to pay for what? College. It's a normal thing.
Right? What the fuck does any of that have to do with raping a child?
Yeah, that has
What
nothing to
does
do with
any of
wrong,
that bullshit
idiot.
have to do with
They're
raping
wrong.
a child?
You're telling me that raping a child is wrong? Okay, what about all these other wrongs? How about it?
Oh my God, I'm not telling.
People. That's what
Hey,
you're
we
asking.
got a cop. We got a fucking cop here. I need some help. Hey, y'all want to act like you fucking care?
So, Mouse, and you're comparing yourself to the police?
Hey,
Emo, can we get some order?
Why
Listen,
not?
y'all,
We've got so
y'all
many
want to sit here and
injustices
rag
being
on
created
people.
by the police. Hey,
Mouse,
I'm
hey,
above the
Mouse,
police. man.
Mouse,
I'm not
hold up
gonna
a minute.
affirm that.
I'm
Hold up
above
a
the
minute.
police. I'm just a
Y'all-
sex offender. You
Roll
are
up.
society
Excuse me, guys.
offenders.
You just admitted it. You just admitted you're a sex
And
offender.
you don't know what equal rights mean.
Go
Clear in my
You
case.
wrote a confession and signed it. That wasn't fabrication at all.
That's called a setup. Fight another day. It's either fight now or fight another day. And you want to know something? It's impossible in order to sit there and beat that. You want to know why? Because any evidence
Because
that
you did it.
come up with in order to question
Mouse.
the victim,
Mouse.
okay, her going out and being a whore, her getting arrested.
You're talking about a child, man. What the
I'm
hell's
talking
wrong
about
with
a
you?
fucking whore. I'm
Emo,
talking
would
about a
you
girl
please
that
move
got
Oh
your
my
mic?
God.
Please,
in
both
front of
of
her
them, Kevin
fucking
and
house.
Mouse.
Having
You're a
sex with
piece
her
of
fucking
shit, man.
boyfriend.
Wow.
Yes, she is a
Okay,
You're
piece
a
of
good
piece
to
of
hear
shit.
that I'm
No,
on my
you
game.
are.
She is so much of a piece of shit that
Yeah,
she
it's
murdered
the
her
underage
boyfriend.
kid's fault. It's not my fault, right?
Liberty Bird, thoughts?
Bro. This the last statement made by Kevin, dude, just really like hearing Kev say what he had to say definitely struck a chord with me. This is the thing, is that we now know, okay, what it is. We see the documents for what they are. There's no more questioning. There's no more misinformation. There's no more skewing the truth. And I can find some reprieve in that. As a former victim of child sex abuse, I would say that these kind of decisions that people make, whether a grown woman, a grown man, that have an effect on a child, lead to not only lifelong consequences for you, the perpetrator, but also that victim. And I can only imagine the dysfunction and the overwhelming circumstances that had transpired after that victimization took place that led Mouse's victim and many other victims like her to self-destruction. The implications and the damage are long lasting, lifetime in a lot of instances. And I pray that eventually Mouse will be able to evaluate the truth and then ultimately see it from our eyes. But when you make statements that these things are normal around the world, marrying 8-year-old children in some places is okay, there's a very sick and disturbing mindset that you have to have in order to take that position. And I just pray that there's no more victims.
I personally hope that there are no other victims. And, I think my goal in this tonight is particularly in, giving some power to the victim who, isn't here to speak for herself, because he has trashed her, which is, something that can be very common in situations like this. And I want other victims to know that, there are people out there that are going to stand behind you and going to listen to you and are going to make sure that you see justice. And what these individuals do when they victim bash and they victim shame, it can be hard to have to face, but the more of us that stand up to it, I think the less it's going to continue to happen. So. How about you, Sancho? You have something to add?
Flyhead, what do you think?
I pulled redacted JW's records, and I will never show them because that was my own personal dig. And I looked really hard, and I can tell you for a fact that this person was affected after. Um, you could just, you can look for yourself if you feel like it. I'm not going to share that. We're not here to dox people. She is the victim, but I am overwhelmingly convinced that from what I've seen and read and what I know about the victim, there was definitely an impact. What's going on now, who knows? I think Sean, his son, would probably be able to tell us more about that.
Without a doubt, those of us that know a lot of the more intimate details of the story with regards to the victim know that she did suffer. And what bothers me, I think, the most about this situation is, that she not only was victimized as a child, but and this was 20 years ago, so she was 15 then. What is she, 35 now? She continues to be victimized every day that this pedophile is allowed to be. And I'm using the word pedophile. He's a child sex offender. Every day, though, that he's allowed to be on the internet and that people follow him or give him money is another day that he's out there, to be able to possibly hurt someone else. And I think people should really think twice about money and what he's doing with it. It's one thing to send him a pizza and those sorts of things, but I don't know. I don't know. I don't really have any compassion or sympathy for him, and he's never been able to con me out of one of my dollars.
So, what have we not discussed that is big on your list of things we should discuss today?
Is that directed to me?
Yes.
We are on YouTube, so I'm going to talk about one more YouTuber. His ex-girlfriend's on YouTube. A lot of you know it, a lot of you don't. Her name is Skunkwater Bait and Tack. You will find a video on her channel where she currently was walking to court for one of her 2 charges last year. We have an older woman in her late 40s who stole a vehicle. Again, connected to Mouse, was dating. He admits that. She's always on. He brought her on YouTube to eBay for her mobile. It was this idea that she was feeding everybody that she wanted to get homeless people to have a mobile bait and tackle. They live on a river down in Louisiana, and the idea is a great idea, but the problem is the person that's pushing the idea. And Mouse told this woman, Skunkwater, to come on the YouTube and she could e-beg. And I don't know if she took it down. There's another video on her channel where she's drinking a beer and e-begging for dog food. I mean, I'm just, it's just a pattern. This is another person on YouTube, along with Thomas, that are connected to this guy who were recently charged with crimes. I don't care if they're sex crimes or not, charged with crimes. Sure. I mean, I'm in my 40s. I don't have a felony. I never will have a felony unless I got to defend my family and some crazy shit happens. She's in her 40s and she had 2 fucking major charges last year. These are all of her charges. Here's the people you're donating to, YouTube. Anybody miss the animal cruelty? Don't miss the animal cruelty, because that's as bad as fucking with children.
I thought I used to have a gif of her eating pizza. I know one time, I'll tell you this little story. One time, she was e-begging for some money or whatever, and somebody gave her some money to go eat pizza. And so, of course, she live streamed the whole pizza thing, and then, she was eating pizza, and it was pretty gross. I had a gif of her taking a bite of that hot pizza. It's really funny. Not that it's really anything to laugh about, but yeah, these are not good.
It's proven that people who will abuse animals will abuse anything. And when I see any kind of animal charge, it pisses me off like you couldn't imagine.
Well, when she got her stimulus money in, she went and bought that little corn snake or whatever kind of snake that was. And I asked her about it the last time I saw her on a live stream, whatever, and she said that it got out of its cage and it died. And how long has it been that we've had the stimulus that came in? And she got, like the first round of it. So, snake didn't last too long. Did you say, Flathead, that she's from Louisiana, or did you say Indiana? Because she doesn't live here in Louisiana. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I think she's in like Louisiana or somewhere down there. She's right on the river or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, but I think she's
it
close
was
by
Indiana.
him.
I think it was like Indiana or something like that. It's somewhere abroad, because I've seen her on
or something.
I could go back and check, actually. So she was on a live stream recently that I ran, and she told us where she was at, so I could look into that for you.
I would remember Louisiana. I promise you, I would have found her.
It's on her record there on the video you just played. It's on there.
So going kind of back to it, and I guess we see a lot of votes going in, and I guess ultimately it'd be a good question is, should we consider, allowing people to get up and express their thoughts around, what they've seen tonight and the information that we've taken in.
Let me play this video real quick, and I want everyone's thoughts on it.
Yeah, I think that a 16-year-old and a 14-year-old should have their genitalia disfigured before they are put to death. You're absolutely right.
Say what?
Wow. Teresa, what the fuck what does that mean?
Oh gosh. I think that my stuff is freezing up here. I don't know. He says some of the craziest stuff sometimes.
I have that whole live stream as I have the whole entire live stream uploaded on my channel, but it's unlisted. I can give you all the references to what that led to. I have so
Mouse
much
doesn't
shit that I didn't give you guys. It's unbelievable.
Mouse doesn't see himself as a predator or a criminal or having done anything wrong. And there's nothing that any of us are going to say or do to convince him, that he is, that he should take responsibility for his behavior, and, he should admit that that was the wrong thing to do, and he should not do it ever again and condemn it. But he doesn't, and that's creepy.
There was a little boy and a little girl. And this little boy loved teasing this little girl. And finally, it really came to a head when the little boy says, "Yeah, I'm better than you are because I have one of these." Okay.
And the girl went home all upset. I mean, it just destroyed her day to realize that. And the next day, she was all happy and well, I got one of these. And it's like, but I'm messing with you. I'm still putting you down. You can't. Why? Because with one of these, I can get as many of those as I want. You are what you eat, people. I'm a pussy. I'll admit it. I can get as many of those with one of these as I want. And that is a very strong lesson to learn. Okay? Because you do not need money. What you need is resource.
What the fuck?
There you go, Liberty Bread.
Time to quit sending them resources.
There's never probably, as long as YouTube or he's got some sort of platform to be on, there, he will always be able to convince people, at least for a little while, to send him money. That's, the nature of con men and, con women. They're going to find a way to con you out of your money.
But I'm more concerned. Sorry, Sancho, but I'm more concerned about this, dude. How many more children are at risk of being lured into fucking Mouse's shit through his fucking YouTube?
That video, by the way, was just another proof of pattern. Every story involves a 14-year-old, 15-year-old, because that's what he's into.
Thank you for bringing me up, Sancho.
What's your thoughts on the show tonight?
Well, as Flathead and the people that are in the chat probably know, I'm, on his show as long as he won't kick me off on a fairly recent basis for the past few months. Basically, the show, I think you've done a really good job. I appreciate the fact that this has been a very well ordered and you mute people to be able to let other people talk, and that it's been a very, evenly distributed, format basically. So I really thank you for that. What I wanted to just throw out there was just to clarify for people who are in the chat and also just in general, a few things regarding the situation in 86 and 87 with the paternity case. That one was filed, or at least if you take a look at the documents from 1986, that was filed by the Assistant Attorney General for the person who ended up becoming the wife. He hasn't really fully explained why the Assistant Attorney General would be the attorney for the wife. You can pull up that document or the documentation from that case in 86. I can give you the case number if you need it. You can see it. Plaintiff, Angela, attorney, Assistant Attorney General. So he hasn't really fully explained why that would have happened. And again, that was June of 1986. It's been confirmed that the birth date of that person was in July of 1970. So you can do the math.
Let's do some other math. How old was Mouse at that time?
Well, that's where it gets a little bit tricky, because since that paternity case was filed in June of 86, there's not a way for us to know if it was that the paternity the case was filed as soon as the kid was born, or how long the birth was, in relation to the case being filed. So we know that he could be either 23 or 24 based on his birthday, which is available from that home fax information that's available. Or basically the information that's available, I think it's even on that document right there about what his birthday was. He was either 23 or 24. We don't know specifically, but that's the age range. But again, the victim, or no, I should say victim, but the Angela at that point was 15. That is fairly certain.
So has he been on record stating Rex Warfield? He has no idea how that name even came up.
Flathead?
When I pulled his records, it was on his aliases. So, excuse me, wherever he was arrested or whatever, that was an alias that the police knew him specifically by, not his son, him.
So the next, when you take a look through those records, the next thing is that there was the marriage in 1987, a year and a month later. Their parents were, her more specifically, her parents would have had to sign off on that marriage because she still would have been underage to basically to get married in Illinois back in 1987. That's already been researched as well. Now, Mouse the other day was talking about the situation as when his son came on his show and started revealing details and started talking about things. He confirmed that all this information was true, but he's using it that he was going into the army and that he had command sponsorship or something along those lines. Flathead, do you know when Rex entered the military?
I've never seen those, but I know Citizen Z has those, or he says he has those. He's got all of his military. He says he's got his DD-214 or whatever the hell it is.
Yeah, the DD-214. Yeah. Well, Mouse in the past has said that he doesn't have a DD-214. He doesn't have his DD-214, and there were issues regarding that they screwed up his discharge from the army and something along those lines. But he's not forthcoming about what his DD-214 actually says. But that's what I've been kind of curious about as to when he actually entered the military, because he's been really squirrely about that.
Well, and
what
I'm also curious
the time frame was.
And I'm also kind of curious on the time frame of how long he actually spent in the military before, he was discharged.
That was 1 year, 1 month, and 11 days. That's what he keeps repeating. The other day he mentioned 2 years, but I think that was because he was trying to. He something got screwed up in his head. But
yeah, well, doesn't it always, right? Like,
yeah,
think
exactly.
about this. Mouse has an extensive. I mean, according to Mouse, he has an extensive military background with all kinds of military knowledge and extra shit. So,
and then he fired a Dragon Koff rifle.
Right.
Yes. Because in the middle of a Cold War, firing at the East Germans and the West, the whole German situation, if he was firing a rifle at anybody at that point, that wouldn't, have made major news. But yeah, he's fired a Dragon Koff rifle at the enemy. But more specifically, yesterday, he was claiming that all of this was because he was trying to get her over to Germany, which doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So that's why I've been trying to, sort of track down the time frame as to, when he actually served. So if Citizen Z does have that information and can post it or talk about it or do whatever.
For her to go to Germany as his wife, what extra steps do you need to take other than marrying the girl?
Well, that's, I guess, part of the question is that she would have had at least one kid with them at that point. This whole command sponsorship, I'm not a military guy, so I have no clue what that even means. But again, his repeated refrain has been that he was in the military for 1 year, 1 month, and 11 days. And that, he was basically, he was in the what do you call it? The mechanics area, I guess, basically. I forget what his actual MOS was, but he repeats it on a regular basis. He repeated it on his video last week where he said he was being threatened by a guy with a gun at that protest. But so that's basically the stuff for the original situation that, has recently come to light or has been confirmed because of what his son has been talking about. That the eventual wife, was 15 at the time of that paternity test. Again, since we don't, originally when looking into it, I was thinking maybe they did amniocentesis or some other type of, testing right then in June. Like they could have potentially done a paternity test before the kid was born. Then I realized, oh, wait a second, that's 86 technology. That probably wasn't available at that time. So we don't know specifically when that kid was born and what her potential age was at the time of conception. So we're placing it at being 23, 24 as to Rex's age with a 15 at the highest girl for that situation. Then when you go to the assault case, again, she just turned 16, told her that he had just turned 16 when he was 38. So for people who are unsure or uncertain of specific details in the chat or whatever, These are all demonstrated, verifiable facts. This is not invented stuff. This is all stuff that is researchable, is found. It's not hacked. It's not, anything. This is all public information. So yesterday on FTP's chat, on his video, I was reading from Rex's statement, the one that you played the video for earlier, because Mouse was saying that the victim's name wasn't even included on his statement. And I was basically saying, it's literally the third word in your statement. So I started reading his statement. And he immediately started get him off the panel, get him off the panel. And FTP got off the panel. So I think Flathead was in the chat at that point, so he can probably remember some of it. The video's now deleted. It was immediately deleted by FTP.
Jim, are people like FTP enabling him, refusing to look at the evidence and just enabling him by giving him a platform, Jim?
That's, I guess, for your determination to make.
Yes.
My feeling is that it is, because he in the video yesterday that FTP ended up deleting. He said, he doesn't really, he wants people to be able to look at both sides and wants to be able to do whatever. Yet when you present that information, and I kept saying yesterday, look at the videos that are on real crime investigations. Those videos are still available. I don't know if Desert Sentinel still has his channel up, but Real Crime Investigations, it's not a channel that I'm associated with or anything like that. It's just basically somebody is mirroring those videos of Desert Sentinels. I said, you can go there and look at the exact things that I'm reading these from that video right now. And, telling FTP, you can look up all this information. It doesn't take more than 20 minutes to watch all the videos. And he just doesn't want to, apparently. So that's the kind of thing that, if people say that they don't want to, they want to hear both sides or whatever, the information is there. It's quite clear. As you said earlier, there was a 3-count indictment handed down by a grand jury. He pled guilty to those charges in exchange for a probation that ended up being, he ended up having to go to jail for failing to register. All of that stuff is outside of what I pay attention to, because that's sort of superfluous to the actual, events that occurred in 2001 and now what we're seeing in 1986. And also, again, the stuff from 1986 was confirmed by his son yesterday and by Mouse directly. So this isn't speculation. This isn't anything else. This is, court records and verified by Mouse himself. So if you want to defend a 23, 24-year-old person having, intercourse with a 15-year-old girl who he knew, and according to Mouse's, statements the other day, he's known her since she was 8. That she lived in the neighborhood. She was, somebody that was known to him. If that's something that you can support, if that's something that you think is acceptable, remember that again in 2001 he pled, or 2003, but the event occurred in 2001. He pled guilty to assaulting a 16-year-old who, when I was reading the statement yesterday, he kept yelling over me, "Where is the crime? Where is the crime?" Which goes to what Teresa was talking about, where, it's the mindset. He doesn't think that what occurred is a crime. It goes to his mindset that, a 38-year-old person or 23, 24-year-old person with a 16-year-old, 15-year-old girl isn't a crime, when by legal definition it is.
That's what the scary part of it all is that he doesn't see it as a crime. He just, he doesn't see himself as having done anything wrong. He sees himself as a victim. He blames it on her, and that's what's scary about it. That's what's, because I think if you had someone up there that was like, man, I was really stupid back then. I drank a lot. I was on a lot of drugs. I don't know what I was doing. I have put that behind me and moved forward, and I have, but that's not what he does. And that's the stuff that, really makes you wonder about people like that. Ugh. And what they're up to, what have they been up to all this time?
I'm worried that he still has a computer. I'm worried that he has computer access.
I don't know that there's ever anything that we'll be able to do to get him off the internet. Like I said, as long as there's a platform out there that'll have him, he'll be running a live panel or a live stream somewhere. And, you know, I mean, YouTube is okay with him. Yeah, they know, I'm without a doubt sure that they've been told what kind of a person this guy is, and they're okay with it. So, you know, what all we can do is say, look, here's the information. This is who this person really is, and we can we can share it with each other and hope that, you know, other people, when they get involved with wanting to send money to people like this, that, you know, they do their research.
Now, Flyhead, when you donated to him, did you know about his past?
You know, I did, but I didn't. You know, I was told he was in a bar. Somebody came in with a fake ID. You have to be 21 to get in. He was under the impression that this female was 21 or over. He claims he looked at the ID himself. You know, and that's the shit that was fed until Desert and a bunch of others really started to dig in and started to show the, you know, proof.
All right. Anyone has any questions in the chat? Let's go. We're about 2 hours in right now, so let me kind of scroll through. NJ, welcome. What's your thoughts on this stream tonight, NJ? NJ Diver.
Yeah, sorry.
What's your thoughts on what you witnessed?
I've got to get in a position where I can talk.
So this is the first question. Is Mouse's son the child from the marriage of Rex's 15-year-old wife? Anybody?
Yes.
Yes. And the mother is how old? 50?
She's 50. The oldest, Mike, is 35. Sean is 30.
And I didn't do well in math, but if you take 50 and you subtract it by 35, what do you have, Teresa?
15, I believe. What is that? Am I right? I'm sorry, I wasn't paying too much attention. I was reading the chat. I'm sorry.
50 minus 35 is 15. You are correct, sir.
Thank you. No, I wanted to add though. I wanted real quick. I wanted to add though that because I think I don't know that you got the full. I don't know. I was thinking though that, you know, there's two sons. Whoever asked the question, there's two sons. So, you know, there's one that's older, the one that, you know, was born when mom was 15. But there's another one that was born when she was much older, right? She was, how old was she when the second one was born? 30.
She was 20 when Sean was born. She was 20.
Oh, I'm sorry. I misunderstood earlier. Let me clear that up then. So she had one when she was 15, and then 5 years later another. Do we know if they're both Fredrickson?
Well, Flathead, do you have any information?
I believe they're both his, yes.
Well, yesterday Mouse was talking that he has 5 kids. That he has 4 kids directly and one that he believes is his, but he never has had full paternity to prove it. And we don't know any information about that. That's basically what his words were, but he has said that he has 5 kids.
I can confirm. I've heard that multiple times.
So you can extrapolate from there. But the thing that I keep coming back to is on that with the wife, with the eventual wife at age 16. That, you know, at 15, whether or not there was actual charges filed in that situation. Again, the fact that the assistant attorney general was the plaintiff's attorney, that doesn't sound normal. That doesn't sound right. And I'm sorry, I'm going to say, you know, this is my, you know, to pull the emo, in my opinion, you know, if you're you know 15 years old with a 24-year-old person, you're a victim. There's no way, no getting around that. He was trying to say the other day that they were in love and that he had loved her for a long time, blah, blah, blah. This isn't Romeo and Juliet here. This is a 23, 24-year-old man with a 15-year-old girl. And again, when it was described earlier, Rex was 6'3". If you take a look at some of those early booking photos, he was kind of a beefy boy. He wasn't, he isn't the frail, hunchbacked, lurch, that stumbles to the gas station to get his sandwich. Back then, he was, probably a bit more intimidating, especially to somebody that was young and somebody that was known to him in the neighborhood, and it's opportunity. But from there, the pattern repeated 15 years later. He was a different age. The victim wasn't. I mean, that's, patterns of behavior. And unfortunately, I do believe that, when people have a predilection, they keep repeating the pattern. And also remember, he is a level 2 offender.
That was precisely my point. A pattern. There is an absolute definitive pattern here.
Did anyone see FTP's stream earlier?
Not today, just the one that I was kicked off of yesterday. That
I saw it, but I lost my attention.
I did. I watched it.
You know why he stopped?
Because we started getting Mouse to start saying certain things that wasn't supposed to. Okay, well, that's kind of where I got it to it. Like Mouse went on a rant and then bam, it disconnected.
No, it was because the documents that you guys finished reading were starting to be exposed.
What do you mean?
Why would FTP stop the stream when it's FTP stream? It's not Mouse's.
Right. Well, Mouse took a look at the documents that were posted on Fan Club and started reading them out loud. And FTP was afraid of a strike.
Howdy.
What kind of strike? A privacy strike on public records?
And or the graphic nature of the reading.
It's public record. Is this guy a fucking auditor or a cop watcher and he doesn't know that?
Excuses.
Isn't it Logistics 101, Teresa?
Yes, but that's not all. The StreamYards was up for another half hour.
So FTP was scared of letting the truth out, but yet he was wanting to get the truth out about tyranny.
So was there something that happened in the backstage area in the StreamYard, Diver?
No, the StreamYard never shut off. And I can't see the back of it, because I'm
So this is hypothesis, not
Oh, I was there.
Okay.
And basically it was more circular arguments by Mouse trying to convince FTP that he was a victim. And at the end, before I bowed out, Mouse was about to reveal to FTP some hidden information that only he had, but he would only reveal it if I left. So I did.
Well, that's interesting. What I found interesting about the FTP stream was when Mouse started reading his own statement, and then it was like, "Oh, she said that she was stroking me," and like he was all surprised about that because that was something that came out of his mouth.
Well, what was also interesting were the statements he made before the stream ended, that he had never seen the documents that were posted in Fan Club. And unless I get mistaken, Teresa, you were the one that posted them there.
Oh, they've been there for a long time, and he's pulled them up on streams, on his live streams before. Before like this week, many times. So I know whenever we put them up there, he started pulling them up, freaking out. But how did they get this? They weren't supposed to be able to get this. This was supposed to be, we had a heart attack. He's made all kinds of excuses about those documents ever since we posted.
And he made the same excuses earlier yesterday evening because it's
The-
almost 1:30 for me right now.
He's seen them. He said they were fake numerous of times, and he said they were real or this and that. He's gone back and forth on every fucking thing he
Well,
says.
it's kind of hard to say they're fake when they come from the government.
Exactly. So Flathead, well, that's why he's on that question the government platform, and only because of this case, he wants everyone else to question everything because he wants you to believe this case is fabricated. Flathead, what haven't we touched upon that you really want to get out there like tonight? Because there's a lot. There's a lot. Kudos to you. Kudos to Teresa. Kudos to Desert, Jim. Everybody who's put the work in and the research in, that are doing their best to be the voice for the voiceless. Thank you all. Flat, what haven't we touched upon that you want to?
No, I think we hit what we should hit tonight. Anything else, I think, would be a whole different night.
Have you guys noticed? For those of you who didn't see the earlier stream, did you notice his new tendency towards? Basically, the only thing I can describe it as is a sovereign citizen tactics.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's something that he's been doing for a while. There are legal documents out there where he has, all rights reserved signed beside his name. That's a common sovereign citizen tactic. It doesn't mean anything, but he thinks that it does. So he seems to be more embracing towards that. I don't know if he's trying to make a reach out to them more so than the First Amendment auditor community.
Well, the First Amendment auditing community shunned him, so.
Yeah,
in Denver, yes. Or in Colorado.
He's definitely been trying to get some friends. That's why he ran to FTP's channel yesterday. I kept popping in during one of his streams, because he thinks that blocking somebody on StreamYards, means they can't talk to him. That doesn't work too well. So I kept popping in on his channel in his stream and, basically, confronting him on some of his stuff. So that's why he ran to FTP's stream on Friday, because he was looking for some backup. And when I showed up on FTP's stream, I told him straight that's what you're doing. You're coming here for backup. So he's desperately trying to find friends. The whole PDF thing, he also did that with Extra Good Citizen. He's trying to find people that, will try to back him up.
I did find it interesting that I was a moderator on FTP's channel. And for the past 3 days, I've been in every one of his live streams telling him about Saturday night at 11 p.m. Eastern. Today, this afternoon, I say, can I post a link? Because he kept whining, nobody's giving me evidence. Nobody's giving me evidence, knowing we're getting the evidence tonight. But he wants to tell his subscribers that nobody's giving him the evidence, knowing the evidence is coming tonight. And the second I asked to post the link to this stream, I'm no longer a moderator on his channel.
Yeah, and that's, like I said, that's for people to make up their own minds about him. My feeling is that he's trying to use Mouse because he thinks Mouse has some legal advice that he can give to him regarding his own cases, and it's sort of a both people trying to think that they're smarter than the other, trying to take advantage of each other, opportunity kind of situation. But you know how that ends up going.
Well, I hear what you guys are saying, but I would ultimately say that. FTP, in my opinion, may or may not have some type of inside connection with Mouse, or however that goes, or maybe he's just sympathetic to his plight. But the one thing I do know about FTP is that ultimately he is not out to suggest that he is friends with Mouse by any means. You know what I mean? And in addition to that, I think that FTP's like me. Like, where is the proof? I want to see the proof, and he may have misspoke, but I think that he would be objective to see the evidence.
Well, the evidence has been presented tonight in full, Bert. True or false?
And I agree, and that's tonight. You know what I mean? But prior with the stream that happened earlier, that evidence still wasn't fully presented. So
it literally was. I was reading his statement on this panel with FTP there. I was reading Rex's statement in StreamYards like this while FTP was there. Mouse started screaming, "Get him off the panel! Get him off the panel!" As I'm reading Rex's statement about basically being masturbated to ejaculation. And that's the point where
he's
FTP cut me off yesterday.
He's enabling it by censoring people telling the truth. But
I hear you. I have a hard time believing he would be doing it. I just have a hard time that he'd be taking legal advice from Mouse. Period.
Well,
Like I'm just saying,
wait a
FTP's
second.
smarter
The one
now.
for anyone that didn't see the stream earlier, FTP stream, he had brought someone in there that has supposedly done a lot of pro se work for themselves and others. And unfortunately, after posting the URLs for the fan club information on Mouse, the gentleman looked it up, went off the StreamYards, and then came back on a little while later and basically rejected Mouse.
Well, that's good.
And I don't know if this is true or not. Supposedly, that was FTP's brother.
Well, you just said that the stream ended because FTP was told to end it and ended it, correct?
No, not told. FTP ended it out of fear of what was being read by Mouse, which is basically the same thing that Mr. Rhodes there was reading
the previous day.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was reading that to him on Friday. The events, the FTP stream that Diver's talking about happened apparently today. Happened on Saturday.
Oh, Sanchez, could you check backstage for a link?
Nobody's backstage.
Private chat.
Can you
yeah. Oh, you want those URLs? I can get them in a few seconds.
He's a mod too, NJ.
With what Teresa was saying earlier, the situation regarding, him being on the internet, Flathead may have a little bit of information on this. I don't know. From what Mouse has said is that he has to have his phone and his information basically vetted or audited by the police department. That he has his phone downloaded. I don't know. Again, with him, you have to take what he says. They could be downloading it for other reasons.
Yeah,
they could be doing something else.
doubt that. I doubt that very seriously. He is not. He's not on probation or parole right now. I really don't think that they would have access to be able to do that. Seriously, the problem is with these sex offenders is once they serve their sentence, there's not a whole lot of extra stuff that you could put on them, like having to, when they go and check in, having to download all their information, or even having to have an app on their phone that would kind of keep track of those sort of things. But because once they serve their sentence, they're done. They just need to register. The only thing you get is to know that they're around.
And so he doesn't use his phone, right? But we all know that he uses a fucking desktop all day.
Mm-hmm.
What are we reading right here? What's this? How did this get up here? Was this another bomb? So this is the Illinois Sex Offender Registry. And what are we looking at here?
That's Pedal Mouse.
How many years are we looking at? 2014, 2016. I mean, this is confirmation that he is a registered sex offender, true or false?
Well, without a doubt, he's obviously registered if he's on this website. Otherwise, knowing Mouse and his legal experiences, he would have sued him.
If it looks like a duck, walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, what is it, NJ Diver?
It's a dog.
And did you all did cover his case of not registering, right?
We didn't get too much into that this evening, but I don't know if people know it or not, but there was a time after he was done with his sentence when he moved, and there was an issue with him registering and the amount of days or what have you, and he was arrested and he was put in jail and he was sentenced, and he appealed that and he won. And now there is in a federal court right now, like a 1983 lawsuit or something like that with regards to that has yet to settle. But so when he talks about that in particular, that's what it's about. It's about a failure to register charge that he took. I'm not even sure what year it was. And the fight that preceded that from the guilty, not the guilty, or I don't know. I guess I don't know if he went to trial or what I'm not really sure, but I know that there was an appeal and that he won the appeal and that they ended up having to drop the charge or something like that. And so then they filed a federal suit, and that's kind of just in limbo right.
Well, everything's in limbo right now because of the pandemic.
What's interesting about these images is that you can kind of see a deterioration happening over the years.
Mm-hmm. If you look at that picture from 2006, I mean, that's obviously the closest one to the events that happened, with the, led to the guilty plea. Again, if you're a 15-year-old girl, 16-year-old girl, he must not have looked too different from that picture there. That's 6'3" guy, that's not a, she said, she was afraid that things would be worse if she said no. That's in her statement.
And he's a fast talker, and I'm sure he had all kinds of crazy things to say.
Mm-hmm. Well, he's lately been saying that there are missing affidavits from her friends that were supposedly in the room. When you read her statement, there's never anybody else in the room but the two of them.
When you read his statement as well, and we talked about that earlier,
Exactly.
there weren't. And he's said off and on different things about these affidavits that he claims are missing from the record. About how there were 17 and 15 and 12 people that 12 of these affidavits that are missing, and that's just not true.
Yeah, it's as I mentioned to him yesterday. That's like saying, well, where's the affidavit from Santa Claus? That's you can't prove something that doesn't exist, may not exist, and is your word. I'm going to go with what's in these direct statements. The other part is
exactly right.
There's also a video from 2018 around Christmas time where he goes off about the incident, and basically he says that the reason that basically she filed false charges against him because he yelled at her in front of a group of people that were in his house because there was hanky-panky going on and stuff like that. I don't know if I have a copy of the video. I think it's still available, or available as he would like to say. The title of it is...
Do you have the ability to share screen? Are you on a desktop?
I am on a desktop. I just would prefer not to, but I can give you the name and you can look for it.
If you can put it in private chat, is that easier?
Yeah, I can send you. I can send you a link if I can.
So this is the Missouri sexual offender inmate details for Mr. Beware of Mouse.
Sorry.
It is
June 6, 2001. Female, 16, 180 pounds, 6'3". Those are the charges.
Let me add something real quick too about these affidavits that he claims are missing. He's had years and years to go back to these witnesses and get these affidavits. If they are in fact missing and what have you. He's had years and years. He had an attorney representing him when he went through this criminal case. So, he had the opportunity to gather these affidavits and to enter them into the court record, but he didn't. He didn't.
No,
so
he gave a handwritten statement. He gave a handwritten statement.
Yeah, I don't know where he's coming up with this, so I just wanted to add that.
Well, he's displayed a whole raft of documentation on paper, an inch or so thick. Every time he feels like it, he waves that in front of his camera. But of course, he won't read it. He won't disseminate it. He won't even say he's got it electronically. He just waves a raft of paper at you.
In the private chat in the back room.
There you go. What that's about, my personal opinion, or I guess that was NJ.
Is it time stamped? Thank you.
This goes back to the illusion that a mouse likes to create an illusion around the facts, right? He likes to create an illusion of what is just in his eyes versus what is just in the eyes of everyone else. And once you create that kind of illusion, or you get stuck in that kind of illusion,
you start to believe it sometimes. And I think that Mouse really does believe this. I think Mouse believes that he knows about time travel, though he doesn't know enough about it to, utilize it to go back and make better decisions. But
Or Nazis on the moon.
exactly, watermelons on the moon. Fuck. I mean, who knows how it goes? But this is the thing: is when you're constantly set up in creating lies and illusion, it is really easy to become complacent with fucking living it.
All right, let's check it out.
That there was
This is the
20
roast
people
video.
in my house at the time that this crime was supposed to have been taking place, and not one of them was interviewed by the police. The report was given to the police and turned away almost immediately because they knew she was lying. The report was substantiated then going through the school counselor. That's funny. It was already reported and determined to be a false report. Now, why would it be a false report? How could that possibly be? That's because there was a lot of hanky-panky going on, and I kicked everyone out. I made her an example in front of a lot of people. I yelled, I screamed, I embarrassed the shit out of her. I was not a gentleman. That I was guilty of. And I knew better. But I had to have a release. I got that angry, so I took it out verbally. It's funny, retaliation can be expected if you've given somebody good reason to take it. And I did. I gave her good reason to retaliate against me.
Wow.
And I was wrong in cussing her in front of everybody that was present when a specific incident happened. And I'll say nothing more about that incident. It wasn't with me. Had nothing to do with me. Happened to be in my fucking house, which I was not tolerant of. My children, which rarely was able to visit me, was present in the house. My grandfather was present in the house. There was 7 other children present in the house. Children, my children's age, in the house. The parents of 2 of those children in the house. The police looked, but their kids were at my house. That's why the first police report was primarily ignored, because their children was at my house. And they knew about it before any police report was ever attempted, because the kids had something to yak about. And boy, I tell you, it was 2 weeks, maybe 3, that rumor, what actually happened, added to. By the time it got down to 3 weeks, you want to know how much damage dogma can do? Yeah, that's what I'm guilty of.
You can see how it goes from there, but
He's good at walking away. That's something I've noticed whenever, like, the one interaction I had with him, I was trying to get answers from him, and he would talk, and then when I talked, he got up and walked away. And I think it was kind of like a verbal body game warfare that he clearly wasn't going to fucking win with Sancho.
He does that to everybody.
Just for people.
Anytime the truth starts to come out, he will have technical difficulties, or he will have to get up and walk away, or he will just disappear.
Just for people who are watching, that's a video on his own channel. It's on WDRN, Wicked Development Radio Network. Still a live video that's available on that channel right now.
And
It's from December 21st, 2018, called WDRN. Please help support Melvin Walden, aka Falling Bomb, at PayPal.com.
All right, sorry about that. So this question is, when I asked him, he explains that that was a confession of the last woman he had sex with, and never listed her age. That was his response to me.
He's also said that he was drunk.
Yeah, he repeated that earlier.
That's one of the
yesterday.
other things that he's done, to try to explain it, that he was drunk when he wrote.
If he was drunk, how come his handwriting was so legible?
Also, a cop would not accept a statement from somebody that was intoxicated. They would wait till sobriety or something else, I would presume. But certainly the guilty plea, that's literally the thing they make you do, is that you have to be willing to, in your allocution or accepting of the plea, you have to say that you're of sound mind. They wouldn't accept a guilty plea from somebody that was inebriated, under the influence, or not of sound mind. So
I agree, because it's an affidavit, and he talks about affidavits being attached, and it was signed I guess, I don't even remember if it had witness signatures on it, but in the state of Louisiana, if you have the person's signature along with two witnesses and a notary public, it's as good as testimony.
If they were the only two in the room, there would be no witnesses to what they did.
Mm-hmm.
There would be a witness. She would be a witness.
Well, yeah, outside of, the obvious, there'd be no other witnesses. So there would be no affidavit. There's nobody that could say, well, I saw them do this, if they're the only two in the room.
All right, he's claiming, as you heard earlier, that there were 20 other people in the house of the time of the incident. And he's claiming that they have affidavits of their testimony, but refuse to introduce them. But he doesn't explain what's in the affidavits, because he claims he doesn't have them 1 minute and then claims he now has them.
All the witnesses saw was them walk into a room. So that's all the affidavit would say, not unless there were people that accompanied it, unless they had a third party in there. But if it was just them, all the affidavit would say is, yeah, I saw them walk into the room. That's it.
Oh, the question that I asked him the other day was, he was supposedly, his father was, on his deathbed and was, infirm at this time. Who has an infirm father that you're taking care of, and that you have random 20 people floating in and out of your house at whatever times of the day? You may have like a trusted friend. He mentioned Chris Powers at one point, that, Chris Powers was helping to take care of his dad. You might have a trusted friend who's helping out with things like that. But to have, as his, statements here, he's having all these people randomly, in the house at any point. What is up with that? That just,
and a lot of them were underage.
It sounds to me, with those videos you guys just presented, that he's trying to blame everybody that was in the house, no matter what time of day or what date, is at fault for not coming forward and or not testifying on his behalf, and not putting out affidavits on his behalf, and or, by the sounds of it, he's, especially that last video, it sounds like he's trying to blame his kids.
Mm-hmm. And again, you go back to his direct statement, the statement that the video was played of, that Desert Sentinel read. The third word was that specific victim's name that's been redacted. It wasn't, he says he was drunk and was talking about a other sexual experience or anything else. That name is specifically mentioned. It wasn't, I was drunk and I did something, or I did whatever. It's quite direct, specific, far too graphic for anything that I ever want to read again in my life. But it's, It's there. It's a fact. He can, now say that it's, manufactured evidence is, I guess, one of his new, dodges or what have you. But it's there.
He's blaming the translation, as he calls it, transcription. If you actually look at the paper, that's a fabrication of the police officer, and that the handwritten item that he signed was made up by the officer, not him.
Yeah. And that's just not believable. Again, what you were saying earlier, that, he believes these things that he says. I have absolutely no doubt in my mind. He believes everything that he says, even the stuff that contradicts the other stuff. But that doesn't mean it's true, doesn't mean it's reality. It doesn't mean anything. It's just what you have told yourself to make yourself feel better about the horrible things you've done in your life. And again,
I'm sorry, man. He once said that crows live for 200 years. And I was like, what the fuck? So I Googled it. It was like they live for like 6 years or something. I was like, he just said the motherfuckers live for 200 years.
Well, he does have that disclaimer that he puts onto his videos where he says that everything that he says is a work of fiction, and that, it's basically his way to try to, weasel out. He always tries to give himself outs. Like earlier today, he was saying that, because he carries certain laws printed out in paper in his back pocket, that if he ever gets arrested, it's his way to create, disabled qualified immunity, because these papers in his back pocket, would serve as legal notice, so they can't say that they didn't know them. And I was basically telling him straight out, like, no, those are pieces of paper, just like a receipt would be, that gets entered into your inventory when you get processed as paper, miscellaneous paper. They're not going to read what's on that paper, because that would actually be a violation, I believe, of the Fourth Amendment. Am I not right? If they don't have a warrant to read what's on that piece of paper?
I don't know. They might be able to look at it, as long as it wasn't sealed up in an envelope or something like that.
Yeah, if it was sealed or if it was on a cell phone, they'd need a warrant. But if it's a piece of folded up paper in his pocket, you're under arrest. Everything on you is evidence.
Yeah, but it's not going to, invalidate their qualified immunity based on a piece of paper that's in your pocket that basically describes 18 USC 241 and 242. And that's another one of the Sovset's favorite lines, is that specific U.S. code.
Hey, easy. I use that specific U.S. code all the time, and I'm not a sovereign citizen by no
Sorry
means.
about that. I say that in love. Then.
Liberty Bird, I'd hate to tell you, you're a Sovset.
No, sir, I am not that at all. I'm a constitutionalist, which means I believe in law.
Flat.
You're a Sovset.
So we're looking at two instances here where she left, ran away the previous day, came back. There were people in the house, according to her statement. He decided to take her into his room privately after the previous day, attempting it already and failing. She fled the previous day, comes back on the 30th, the following day, and essentially he and I went into his room to talk alone. After about 20 minutes, he started, it's tough to read, but it's there. I did not want to do this and became very scared and blocked it out. I wanted to say no, but was afraid that if I said no, it would happen anyways. It'd be worse. Unprotected vaginal intercourse one time. After sex, he looked at me and he looked at my general area and said, "Oh, good. I didn't tear anything." And well, at least now my rage is over.
Well, I guess that gets rid of that statement that he said the other day that he has a 12-inch penis. That statement right there sort of disproves that idea, I guess.
And he was bragging about that.
Yeah, he was bragging about that the other day. But one other thing about her statement, and more specifically about the police officer statement from that assault, the first 6 pages are missing or they're held back because they're sensitive. But you can see that the police were dispatched to her location because he was there. And the cops found him walking back from her house to his house. and that he was, apparently that she was depressed or she was upset because he had spurned her or spermed her. I've heard it pronounced both ways because of the way that it's written on the report. But the fact that the cops were called, because of the fact that he was at her location, that goes to that video from 2018 where he says that it was supposedly kids talking and that he was she was setting him up. Why would you go to somebody's house if they were setting you up? And why would you say that to the officer who's going to report that?
Odin, let's wrap up. I mean, if Flat thinks we touched on everything that needs to be touched upon, I'm going to follow his great advice. I'm going to extend my appreciation again to everybody who has helped make this stream what it is. Everybody listening to this, please share. Every time you see Mouse on a panel, remind the panel host of this video. It is a concise timeline that puts any whack job theory he says to bed, in my opinion. Odin, is that safe to say?
A lot of the people who are in the so-called community movement, whatever, they kind of turn a blind eye to it because, oh, he knows this and that and that and that and this. No, they need to say, okay, let's look at it.
He tells a good story. He sounds convincing. But when you actually pick it apart, they're just stories.
Right.
I would say that he doesn't even tell a good story. I just say he tells a loud story.
He's got his gain on his mic turned all the way up.
Yeah, it's not a good story.
Good sounding.
So walk us through, Odin. You got. I'll give you 2 minutes each. Everybody, we'll go Odin, Bird, Jim, NJ, Flathead, and then we will end with Teresa. I'm going to give the floor for 2 minutes for you to digest this stream and everything you have seen tonight.
He's a sick bastard that shouldn't be in the community. It needs to be told to fuck off and everybody just move on away from him. Somebody else can go now.
That was a short 2 minutes.
All right, Barry, go ahead.
I'm just gonna go with the jingle, buddy. If you don't want a child molester in your house, unsubscribe to Mouse.
All right, Jim, then NJ, then Flathead, then Teresa.
All right. Well, again, Sancho, thank you very much for running this, and I think you've done a great job in terms of allowing people to be able to speak and keeping things well organized and orderly, because that's been missing in a lot of this. The only things I can say is that everything that's been said has been shown on screen, has been documented. It's out there. It's public records. Nothing is doxing. Nothing is illegal. Nothing is it's just there. It's facts. It's the actual reality of the situation. Of course, Mouse will start threatening lawsuits against all of us and everybody else around and touching this community because, that's what he'll do. But it's there. It's truth is an absolute defense. So nothing has been said that's not been researched, not been documented, not been backed up. So that's basically all I can say.
And all I can say is the truth will out.
Flathead, I can't express publicly my gratitude, appreciation for the amount of research you have done as well. I want to give you the floor for as long as you want it.
Thank you for having me, everybody. Bob, I saw you say goodbye. Have a good night, Jamie, Flash in the Pan, all you guys. Appreciate everybody being here. All I got to say is he's guilty, period. The proof is there. If FTP continues to protect a little, you-know-what like him, it's time to kick him to the curb too. I hate to tell you. You be associated with those people around here and you might just lose your following. Have a good night. Thank you for having me. I appreciate everything.
All right, Teresa. Great work to you as usual. Nothing but awesomeness from you as usual. Kind of, the mic's yours.
Well, I first off, I wanna thank everybody that's been watching, and kind of bearing with us to go through all of this, because I think a lot of putting it all together has been lacking. We'll put a little piece of information out there, and he'll run with all kinds of spins on it and what have you. And I really like the way that we've tried to put it all together here for everyone tonight, so that you can kind of see how the facts get manipulated by people like this. But I want a big shout out to Desert for all of the work that he's done, and the research that he's done, and Flathead, both which have done an awesome amount of research, and all of the people that have had to sit through all of these streams of his, and gather all of this information, just to help people understand, that we're not just saying, these things, we're not just making them up. And at the end of the day, I don't know that we're ever going to, change everyone's mind. But I do like to have the information out there so that people can at least do, encourage people to at least do their research on these people.
I think one of the biggest things that we need to learn from tonight is none of us on this panel can tell you what to do. But tonight was a reminder to make sure you're aware of what is living around you, and becoming aware of the resources and the phone numbers, and having the ability to reach out for help is so important. And I think every parent who has watched this tonight is going to hug their child even closer after what has happened and what you have learned tonight. And I only hope that continues every day and every night, and it doesn't take a 2.5+ hour live feed, a 3-hour live feed, shining a light on something that needs to be shined on for the voiceless. And I hope every day you hug your child, and you monitor your child, and you make sure your child is not on the internet unsupervised and not doing things that may be questionable, because monsters like this do exist. I want everyone to please. Yep.
One other thing, Sancho, I want to add, because it does happen really quickly. This only took 4 weeks, so keep an eye on your kids. I'm sorry, Sancho.
No, please keep an eye on your kids. Again, thank you to everybody on this panel for hopping on. Please like, share, and subscribe. We're at over 700 subs. The race to 1,000 is getting closer and closer. Even Accountability for All says I'll never get to 1,000 subs. So let's prove the pudgy fucker wrong. I want to thank everybody for tuning into El Sancho Live, and have a great night.